All right. What are some cuts from Monday?
Kiffin is a fighter, and Ole Miss offense.
Lane Kiffin is a fighter. I want that one, please.
Wait, Lane Kiffin's a fighter?
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
On Ole Miss offense, has not talked to Coy Moore about transferring.
Coy Moore.
Expecting Matt Corral to play.
Matt Corral.
Matt Corral. Do you want me to put him in or no?
Said he is expecting Matt Corral to play?
Expecting to play, yes.
Yeah, that's not even a story. Good. Next.
Okay, they would like to tighten TDP's load. Proud of Jirai Jenkins.
No.
Will continue to sell LSU.
No.
Recruiting.
We did that one yesterday.
How has O-line changed so fast? His relationship with Lane Kiffin.
Relationship with Kiffin, I want that one.
What if recruit is set on him being their coach?
Nope.
More on his relationship with Lane.
Nope.
Hold on, I got it.
Yep.
Just to be clear, you said you did want the one with Matt Corral?
No, I don't.
You don't want
No, I don't know why someone would ask that question because I don't even think it is a question. Okay, thank you. Stop dancing.
Mornings with Brian Haldane. Who are you? Brian! Brian! I'm really flexible. Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. News and newsmakers. Coffee and contemplation.
Just
Traffic and weather. Sitting here for 2.5 hours and I still don't know why. Good morning. Great day in the morning, people. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Start your day with Baton Rouge's hub for information and opinion. Yeah, well, that's just like, your opinion. Here is Brian Haldane.
606 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running. It is a Wednesday morning and will be a busy Wednesday morning. We are all over the map today. We're talking Matthew Meir. We're talking constitutional amendments. We're talking D.C. Current. We're talking with State Senator Rick Ward. We're talking, we're getting you set for Halloween as well, starting today. Going to have a few interviews leading up to Halloween that get you in the scary mindset, if you will. One of those is today. The last name Voorhees ring a bell? Jason Voorhees, perhaps? Yes, Friday the 13th. Well, what about Deborah Voorhees? Deborah Voorhees was in the Friday the 13th series and has directed a new movie that is kind of spoofy, kind of campy, but nonetheless, if you're into the slasher genre, you're going to be into this. It's called 13 Fanboy. And Deborah Voorhees will join us at 8:40 this morning. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting into the Halloween spirit, if you will. Told you State Senator Rick Ward is going to be on board with us this morning. We had a story with some audio from him yesterday and wanted to dive a little bit deeper. So gave him a call, said, hop on board. Talk about solidifying the electrical grid a little bit. Talk about how we depend too much on federal funds for our own local DOTD. And talk a little bit about what we could do in the wake of a storm if one particular cell provider goes out. So that'll be at 8:15. Backing up to the 7 o'clock hour, Congressman Garret Graves will be on for D.C. Current. We do that every single Wednesday, and this Wednesday is no different. Then, looking back in reverse order, Jason DeCuir from Advantis is going to join us to talk about Constitutional Amendment number 1. This is the centralized sales tax. This is something we talked about a lot during the legislative session. But what happened during the session didn't get the job over the finish line. All it did was put it to where we could vote on it. A constitutional amendment puts things in our hands. That's what the state legislature did. They did their job. Now the job is up to us on November 13th. If we want to see a centralized sales tax collection, basically, there's only 2 states in the country that have where every taxing district handles their own stuff. And in a world of online shopping, this makes all the difference. And in a world where you need more oversight over where your budget's coming from and what money's coming into the state, this makes all the difference in the world. Jason DeCuir is going to join us at 7:15 to talk about it. 6:35, Attorney Franz Borghardt is going to be on board for Legally Served. We're going to be talking about Matthew Meir. There are 3 different parishes that want at Matthew Meir. Who gets dibs? Is it based off of some sort of chronological order as to when the alleged crimes were committed? Is it based off of the severity of the crimes? Do murder trials go first and then everything else after that? How did Matthew Meir get to Angola so quickly? We'll talk about all these things with Attorney Franz Borghardt at 6:35. Also, Insurance Commissioner Jim Donelon made a big announcement yesterday about a new program for homeowners who are doing battle with their insurance companies. We'll have some audio for that for you in our next segment. And, of course, a couple of cuts from Ed Ogeron as well in our sports segment. Before we get to any of that, though, got to start with COVID numbers. Because 1 week from today, the mask mandate will expire. And one of the things we've been looking at is, are we going to see another one? Are we going to see a re-upping of the mask mandate for another 28 days or so? Well, in tracking the numbers, and I cannot wait to get to where we have the numbers for the most recent numbers when it comes to parish by parish. That's coming out today. But tracking the day-by-day numbers, one of the things that I've been tracking repeatedly is the hospitalizations. And every week when the new parish-by-parish numbers come out, I can take a look at the parish risk of transmission, risk of positivity, and all that stuff. But the hospital numbers have been important. And the reason they're important is because if you are continually trying to flatten the curve, that's the curve that needs to stay flat, or as flat as we can keep it. From Monday to Tuesday, another 22 people went home from the hospital. Or I should say another 22 hospital beds were freed up. We went from 421 in the hospital yesterday down to 399 today. Well, Tuesday. By noon today, new numbers will come out. If we continue on that clip, by this time next week, the number of COVID patients in the hospital will be lower than it was the last time the governor lifted the mask mandate. Now, overall caseload is going to remain a little bit higher than the last time. That's just the nature of how the Delta variant spread, or the fourth surge spread. That's going to remain higher. The percent positivity, I'm expecting the number of parishes that are outside of the level of highest risk to not double again, but come close to it. Over the last 3 weeks, we've seen the number double every single time. Almost double. I want to say we're at 27 parishes this heading into this week, whereas heading into last week it was at 14. But as we're counting it down to next week, looking at the gating criteria that we have access to, all signs are pointing in the direction of we might be done with the mask mandate for now till the fifth surge comes around. We're going to take a break here in just a second. When we come back from that break, Ed Ogeron met with the media on Monday. There's so much to get to during that press conference. We didn't get to all of it in yesterday's sports, so we will break down a little bit of it next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It's the second day this week that Muya was in the first segment, so I'm going to push them back a little bit just to get a different audience, or a little more audience in.
I know you asked if you're thinking about lunch, but
You're definitely not. No, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's thinking about lunch.
Okay, Ogeron cuts.
Yeah. I'm looking at the clock. It's going to be his relationship with Lane Kiffin goes first.
Okay, it's like 55 seconds long.
Okay. And then and then I'll keep an eye on the clock after that.
Okay.
All right.
The only other two that we have right now is 5 and 17 respectively.
Okay. Morning, Renee. Morning, Eric. Morning, Clint. What's happening?
So we're good on cuts?
Yeah.
Good?
Ugh, need a haircut.
You need a haircut?
Yeah. Hmm?
What's your usual setup?
0 guard on the side and a 5 on top.
How long have you had that haircut?
Since the beginning of COVID,
I mean,
when everybody was sent home for the pandemic and all the barbershops were closed, had my kids cut my hair. I tightened it up afterwards, but
See, I booked.
it got me on the whole. Now that I've had a 0 guard along the side, I can't have hair now. It's annoying.
Does it just grow weird, or does it just feel weird growing?
It grows chunky.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I booked a haircut, but then it got rescheduled. A couple of months.
I gotta go lift Franz in.
how long do I have? You have a minute and some change.
That hurts. Huh? No. I mean, I am if I take the muscle relaxers help. I need more. I need a Schedule 1 narcotic is what I need. All right, Mathern's is gonna have to wait because I'll do Mathern's first. I'll do Mathern's here. Mm-hmm. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt's going to be by in a couple minutes. 15 minutes or so for Legally Served. Got a lot to talk about with the Matthew Mears situation. Going to be coming at that from a number of different angles. Hey, before we get you to sports real quick, going to tell you about the folks over at Mathern's Market. You know where to find them. 3rd Street downtown has been a staple for a number of years now. I said, golly, it feels like yesterday that it was turned in from a bank into a grocery store. But it is a staple of downtown at this point. By the way, if you've never been, the bank vault is the wine cellar or the wine selection. Very, very cool use of the space. But that's not what I'm telling you about. I'm telling you about the location that's on Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Get your game day platters now. Get your party trays now. Get set for LSU versus Ole Miss. They are taking your orders, and you can get over there. Check them out on Facebook to get their daily specials as well. Yeah, just follow Mathern's on Facebook. It's the easiest way to do this. Or swing by Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium, where last Saturday, LSU topped Florida. And right now, they're looking ahead towards, because Mathern's is also across the street from the football facility up Skip Burtman Drive. Looking ahead towards Ole Miss. Ed Ogeron and Lane Kiffin, these two guys, they know each other pretty well. Ogeron talked about this on Monday.
I remember I'm with Pete Carroll And he asked me a question. He says, Eddie, I can hire an older, experienced coach, or I can hire a young, go-get-it coach that I think can help us in recruiting. I said, well, why don't we get a guy that can help us in recruiting? And it was Lane Kiffin. He was a young coach in Colorado State with Sonny Lubick, I do believe, which was Monty Kiffin's son. And Monty and Lane are best friends. And I remember sitting in the recruiting meeting. I was a recruiting coordinator, and we were evaluating some talent. And I liked the guy, and Lane didn't. and you know what? He was right. He earned my respect from day one. Lane and I became very close, me being the recruiting coordinator. He was our out-of-state recruiter. He brought in some tremendous – in fact, he taught us how to recruit out-of-state at USC. He brought in a lot of number one draft picks. He recruited every day he could. He was on the road 7 days a week, working from Florida to New York. I think the guy's a tireless recruiter. He's a great recruiter, and he's a great evaluator of talent.
Ed Ogeron's kind of into recruiting. What was it, like 9 times he said recruiter in that bite? Kickoff, 2:30. Coverage on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, I believe begins at 10:30. One guy you're not going to see out there, wide receiver Coy Moore, has entered the transfer portal as of Monday. That was still fresh news. Ed Ogeron talked a little bit about Coy Moore.
I have not talked to Coy, and if he has entered the transfer portal, I don't know anything about it.
Since then, we have learned that, yes, he has entered the transfer portal. And honestly, it's probably the best move for him. I mean, caught maybe a handful of passes this year at best. But the number of guys who are younger than him that are outpacing him, that's always a key sign that it's not going to work out. LSU is deep, deep, deep at receiver. So, anyway, kickoff Saturday in Oxford, 2:30 p.m. Let's get you to the Fox Business Report here on Talk 107.3 FM. Damn it. That was not what I was thinking it was with Coy Moore. I don't know why I thought that was a different bite. That's all right. It's on me. No, it's disjointed. Sorry to leave you sitting down there, man. Oh. Excuse me. Morning, Christy. I have no idea if you're watching this morning, but good morning. All right.
Angie's List is now Angie, and getting your to-do list done just got easier. Between back to school and with the holidays around the corner, it can feel like there's no time to tackle home projects. Whether you need help with emergency repairs or major...
So, yeah, sorry to leave you sitting down there that long, man. I saw your text like right as we were coming in. Exactly.
Save time for what matters most. Book your next project at Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
So that's the first time I've ever seen a 6'2" first grader.
I looked at my brother. And was like, "Is he about to slam dunk?"
Jesus.
There's a big difference between first graders and kindergartners, man. It's rough.
I'm exaggerating. It's not really 6'2".
Son may have tried to steal the ball away from his own team. Ooh.
Once he took the belt off. I don't know.
I looked at my ex and I was like, "Why is he wearing a belt?" She's like, "He wanted to wear a belt," and I'm like, "That's not athletic apparel for a basketball game."
Well, because the first time he was in, he wouldn't play because he was running around holding onto his belt.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm like, take the belt off.
Boy likes to accessorize. Maybe we can get him like a headband instead, something that's more function than fashion.
Sure. By the way, every kid is a ball hog at that age. It's just
It was pretty impressive. But yeah, there was a first grader on the other team, Team Red or Pink.
They kept calling themselves Orange, and I'm like, that's pink.
Team whatever. There was a first grader that looked like a beast, like a beast.
If full head and shoulders taller
and
than
if you don't
our
think
tallest
that-
first
and if you
grader.
don't think that kindergarten is rough or kindergarten first grade basketball is rough, one kid had a nosebleed. One kid was maybe concussed.
Possibly, I'm legit worried about that.
Yeah. The little girl on our team, she's a beast. She's a
Meg?
Meg gets the ball, man. Oh. She's gonna be playing academy ball.
Possibly. I'll get Muya in here, but you got those Donelon cuts? Okay. 624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, are you doing battle with your insurance company right now over Hurricane Ida damage? Well, Insurance Commissioner Jim Donelon says there's a voluntary mediation program to help settle residential damage claims stemming from Ida. It's being set up through his office. It's a little bit outside the box. He says 2 mediation firms will help resolve damage disputes of up to $50,000 at a cost of $600 to the insurer or the policy holder.
And for that $600, they will make available 90 minutes of time to the policyholders and their insurers.
I need to get $600 for 90 minutes of time. It's a steal. And you can contact the Department of Insurance for further information on this. Donelon says the mediations are going to take place with either reps from Mediation and Arbitration Professional Systems in Metairie or here in Baton Rouge, Perry Dampf Dispute Solutions.
And the limit in dispute is $50,000 per claim that would be subject to the 90 minutes and the $600 fee.
The part that I still don't understand, though, is what happens on the insurer's end. Where is their carrot on a stick to get them to that table? Now, if only a partial settlement is reached after that 90 minutes, additional costs will apply for a more prolonged meeting. The program runs through June 30th of next year. Donelon says insurers as well as policyholders are likely to appreciate the ability to resolve their disputes through this voluntary mediation effort.
I think that they will be happy to have this additional avenue made available to them on a reasonable basis for policy claims that are in dispute.
I don't know. I just from the policyholder standpoint, I totally get it. This gives you a stronger voice. This gives you a better negotiating point. This gives you more footing under which you can, stand your ground. But from the insurer standpoint, what do you get? Why? Why would you? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, Donelon says the $50,000 cap on the dispute mediation was chosen because of the cost and complexity of trying to resolve claims that were above that amount, which opens up all kinds of doors. Hey, speaking of Hurricane Ida damage, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers installed their 30,000th blue roof Monday as part of its Operation Blue Roof emergency response from Hurricane Ida. Got this press release yesterday. Quote, "I'm so proud of the team's incredible efforts in this mission," said USACE Hurricane Ida Response Team Commander. That's a long business card right there. USACE, so USA Corps of Engineers, Hurricane Ida Response Team Commander Colonel Zachary Miller. Quote, "We continue to work closely with our contractors and the public to ensure the remaining roofs are installed as quickly as possible. Today marks the 42nd day since USACE launched Operation Blue Roof to provide residents affected by Hurricane Ida with temporary roofing protection. The Corps estimates around 4,700 valid install requests still remain. So 30,000 in the books, another 4,700-ish to go. The deadline for this is already passed. So if you have not yet applied, you're on the sidelines or will remain on the sidelines, so you get yourself full-on roof. 34,000 seems like a low number. when you consider the amount of damage that Hurricane Ida did. I guess when you take into account the number of houses that were completely destroyed, because one of the parts of the blue roof is the house still had to be inhabitable. If you're out of your house, you're out of your house. You didn't qualify for a blue roof. So there were a lot in that like medium zone where yes, their roof was destroyed, but also or roof had damage, but also yes, they can continue to live there. We're down in New Orleans over the weekend, or Metairie over the weekend, and on the way down there, there was a big wreck or something on the Bonacary Spillway, so we hopped off in Laplace. Laplace took it bad, y'all. I mean, it looked like all of Laplace is one big blue roof at this point. Goal of the program was to help reduce temporary housing costs for homeowners and renters by allowing residents to remain in their homes while recovering from the storm. I would like to see somebody put a number to that. How much money is saved through the Blue Roof program by not having to put people up, by not having to put people in hotels or shelters or FEMA trailers or the like? Be curious to see what kind of numbers were saved because of that. All right, we got CBS News coming your way in just a minute. After CBS News will be our local news, our traffic, our weather. On the back end of that break, we are going to talk a little bit about Matthew Meir. He's now at Angola prison. Want to ask about that a little bit. He's accused of killing 2 people. Want to ask a little bit about that as well. But there's also a list of other crimes and potential trials. Attorney Franz Borghardt will be in for Legally Served right after our news break. Before we get you to that news break, though, it's not too early to start thinking about lunch. Friday, I had a mushroom Swiss burger from Muya. Yes, I ventured out. I got away from my double Diablo and went mushroom Swiss. First and foremost, dialing back from 2 patties down to 1. Big difference from, Fat Brian to today. The 1 patty gets it done.
I've heard.
You've heard.
I've heard that if you take the bread off, you can go more patty.
I
Nothing wrong with Muya's bread.
So
I'm just saying.
The potato bun is delicious, though, and it's fresh baked. I can't do it. Like, they've got the iceberg lettuce. Okay. They've got the keto version and all that stuff. I love that potato bun, man. It just soaks up the juice of the beef.
You're buying the package experience.
You're darn right. You're darn right. You're darn right. By the way, you could be earning rewards towards free burgers by eating burgers. They've got a rewards program going on right now at both locations of Muya. Download the app. Every dollar you spend earns a point. 50 points equals $5 in rewards. Start stacking up towards free burgers, fries, and shakes. Segan Lane, just north of Industrialplex, or Blue Bonnet at Highland Road. You're going to get the fresh ingredients, the certified Angus beef, the fresh baked buns, or not, at either location. Segan at Industrialplex or Blue Bonnet at Highland for Muya, burgers, fries, and shakes. Let's check CBS News. When we come back, Attorney Franz Borghardt is in next. They do the iceberg lettuce thing.
Some guys just don't go bun.
Yeah.
They just go double patty.
So a lot of people that go keto or any of those carbless diets, once you give it up, you don't crave it anymore.
Not even the carbless. I mean, that's a lot of a double burger.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Double cheeseburger.
That's
maybe
a lot.
Throw a little bacon on there.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is
it's
a lot.
It's a big burger.
Do what?
Does Muya have a cheese? With cheese in the middle, not just on the top. Yeah.
If you're gonna have the buns are the once you put everything.
Segan Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Segan Lane. Yeah.
And Blue Bonnet at Highland.
It's a good burger, man.
It is.
Chaz is also a good guy.
Chaz is fantastic. So's his wife. Chaz does a lot of other things too.
Mm-hmm.
So Lavandra handles a lot of the. Okay. What am I supposed to ask? Sending Matthew Meir to Angola already.
Yeah. I was just being comfortable. we're way past uncomfortable at this point in this place. That laptop's pretty nasty.
Hmm?
That laptop's pretty disgusting.
I mean,
I can't even tell you the last time that's been dusted. There's probably food particles on there.
it's
Maybe a
not
little,
a big.
maybe a little fecal.
Probably.
It's gross.
It's been there since the station started.
Oh, I mean, it's a Dell laptop, but it's got a little seasoning to it. It's got a little age to it. I really don't know what you're
Booyah.
using that. I mean, what do you use that for?
I use it for just internet access, and it also sends my clock up there.
I want to play prosecutor this morning.
Really?
I want to flex my prosecutor muscles.
Really?
I got suckered into a Salt Bay SNL sketch this morning.
Okay.
You've got to. That's worth a YouTube dive. He's just doing. They're at a dinner, and he's doing stuff to the day. You got to.
Okay.
It's not appropriate conversation.
How recent is it? I've probably seen it.
I don't know. It's the guy who.
I'm an episode and a half behind on SNL right now.
You probably have seen it. It's a Haggai mug. I brought it from home.
You did?
Y'all's coffee situation downstairs, the coffee's always delicious. I appreciate you making the coffee. But the mug situation, the receptacle for the coffee downstairs, it's hit and miss, man. It's
So,
dodgy. It's
Cups are all the way downstairs in the basement. I need to bring up some more cups.
yeah.
I
I know that if
so-
I Tech Gumbo, a serving of Tech Gumbo.
Kill the mics for 1 second. Oh. Okay. It is a point of contention. Tiffy says the Kim K episode of SNL was actually pretty good. I saw the first half of that one, but if I'm not mistaken, that week I had gotten home from LSU. I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I got up right before Weekend Update. I shut it off and went to bed because I was tired, and then I didn't get back into it last week because it was an 11 a.m. kickoff, and that ended up with drinking at some friend's house afterwards, and a lot of bourbon. A lot of bourbon. What was I looking up? I was looking up something.
Clinton, what's going on? Byron, dude, the first felony's free for you, Byron. Tiffany, good morning. You got 14 people watching.
Well,
I mean, minus me. I would be curious about the viewers' opinion of which they like better, Facebook Live or YouTube. Is there a difference for them? Is your experience different?
The experience on Facebook, once you've registered, it's the same either way. But a lot of people just don't want to register for YouTube, so they're not showing up at all. I say a lot of people. I have no idea how many people.
I'm going to Port Allen City Court this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I'm willing to go wherever, man. I'm a mercenary. Give me a couple bucks, I'll shake my butt.
Can I give you a couple bucks to not shake your butt?
It works both ways, actually. It does work both ways.
Hey, we ended up raising $1,200 or personally.
Waiter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. You got some tips?
Jay Robichaux. You know Jay?
Mm-hmm.
He just happened to have been there as a volunteer, and he's like, he called me. He's like, "You're on the list for the thing tonight." I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna be like an hour late." He's like, "Let me start you off." I was like, "All right."
Worked out great.
Yeah, it did. But the Golden Girls raised like 4,000. Hill or Moore was over $5,000, like 6,800. I was pleased with 1,200.
I would have worn nothing but an apron.
Nuts. Nuts in the tip hanging out.
That's right. I tip for tips.
Just the tips. 638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Roll it right along. Time for Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt. What's happening, man?
Just happy to be here, guys.
Yeah?
Another day, another dollar, another opportunity to share a wealth of legal knowledge with you and the listeners at Talk 107.3.
So we were talking. A wealth?
A wealth.
So we were talking during the break. Today you want to put Matthew Muir under the jail. You're going to put on your prosecutor's hat.
I can
today?
play prosecutor if you'd
All
like
right.
me to.
Hey, before we do, I just want to get to some procedural stuff, though. Reading in the article that was at on WBRZ yesterday, it says Muir was moved to the Ascension Jail just before noon, blah, 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 blah. He was later Tuesday evening. Muir was moved to a high-security wing of the Angola State Prison. Department of Corrections said Muir was relocated at the request of Ascension Sheriff Bobby Weber. He's being held separate from inmates who are currently serving out sentences. Is it normal, like him going to Angola this quickly, is that the norm?
Well, he's being housed in Angola. He's not serving his sentence in Angola. And from what it says in the article you were just citing, it was a offender safety or accused safety issue. You know, he's a high profile suspect who's been arrested for a crime spree which includes killing a state trooper.
Yeah.
His safety may be in question, and by safety, not just him being harmed by others, him harming himself.
Okay.
I definitely think he will be a target when and if he's convicted, and when and if he's doing his time. I think he'll be a
target by whom?
Inmates.
For killing a state trooper?
Yeah, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, this is shocking to me.
Yeah. Why?
Because I wouldn't think prison
we're putting
inmates...
him in a. We feel safe because
You killed that guy that busted me.
We're putting him in a state penitentiary right now, and he killed a state trooper.
Inmates is where I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. Inmates will handle up.
I did not know inmates took up for the people who put them there.
Well, who supervises and watches the inmates? Guards.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that thought never crossed your mind? Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah.
All right.
Parish prison's not exactly a safe place anyway. So.
Okay. All right.
Now he's innocent until proven guilty.
Sure. So how often does this happen where someone is housed at Angola?
On a high profile? Yeah, it happens.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, the game has changed. We have COVID, so transportation issues are different than they used to be. Mm-hmm. Housing issues are different than they used to be. He's being held without bond.
Yeah.
So a judge said
so it doesn't
no bond.
matter where. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. The issue for his defense team is what's in their best interest to have access to him. Because, I mean, candidly, from a defense perspective, you want to have your client in a place where they're comfortable, and I say comfortable in so much as where they're not under constant threat, harm. He's, I guess, and essentially he's in lockdown at Angola, so he should be, quote unquote, safe.
Yeah, he's being held separate from inmates who are currently serving out sentences. So, I did not realize that was a thing. I thought once you were in Angola, it was after you were guilty.
Nope.
All right.
You can be housed there.
Earlier this month, the district attorney in Ascension Parish brought the case against Muir to a grand jury. That went, super quick as well. Is there anything about this that suggests it's not going to be super quick for the trial?
Well, so the grand jury proceeding is super quick if you want it to be super quick. Mm-hmm. However, the death penalty proceedings, if you're going to try to put this person down like a dog.
Like a dog.
Like a dog.
Like a dog.
If you're going to try to put him to death, it has to be slower. It has to. And then in addition
Slow
to
death.
that, in addition, So he has the right to be present at every single proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the right to say, I'm not going to participate by Zoom. I want to be present. And a good judge will say, this is a death penalty case. You're darn right. And they'll have to transport him.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on where we are with COVID, that affects the length and duration of things. Capital cases, we talked about it last week. Capital cases just take longer.
Yes, they do.
Putting someone down, trying to put someone down, takes longer.
There are 3 different parishes seeking charges against him, or with charges against him. How do you triage this? How do you rank this? How do you say who gets first
So
dibs?
I told you last night.
Yes.
It's like Thanksgiving. You got a big old turkey. Everybody gets a slice.
Yes.
Now, the slice of the turkey is contingent on what are the crimes in the different places, right?
Yeah.
So if he's facing a murder case in one jurisdiction and he's facing, like, I don't know what the total charges are, but let's say it's criminal damage to property or a high-speed chase. That's going to take a back seat unless tactically the murder prosecutors look at the other jurisdiction and says, hey, look, we're trying to strategically put ourselves in the best position to achieve the outcome we want to achieve. Why don't you do X, Y, and Z? And I've said a few times, a good prosecutor would want to communicate with the other jurisdictions. These are all high profile. By the way, all cases are going to be high profile. Whether it's the murder case, whether it's a lesser felony, all going to be high profile. So all the prosecutors are going to want, because at the end of the day, DAs are elected officials, all of them are going to want to put on a good show.
Yes.
All of them are going to want to do what the ends of justice require, whatever that means to them. So it's going to be interesting. But definitely the murder case is the most severe and serious.
Okay, after the murder case, like let's walk down the path that we're assuming conviction here on the murder case. And to be clear, District Attorney Ricky Babin has said it's a strong likelihood that it's death penalty. I don't think that's finalized yet.
He has to make a declaration. He has to tell the defense, I intend to seek it.
But let's walk down this path and just say the murder case is a death penalty case, and he is convicted of that. What do the other cases matter at that point?
Well, that's a good question, right? So if it's a death penalty, it's not life in prison, it's death.
Correct.
Right. If it's a life offense where he gets convicted of like second-degree murder, or the jury says for whatever reason, hey, we don't want to put him to death, life in jail. So it's kind of hard to do a consecutive sentence to life.
Right.
So it's like, hey, we're going to give you 5 years over here, consecutive to your life.
We're going to kill you.
Do the best you can, bro.
We're going to kill you and then leave you there.
Yeah, do the best you can, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, but there may be some strategic advantages to prosecuting the other cases first. If they get convictions on the other cases first, they become factors that can be considered by the death-qualified jury or the jury that would be qualified to make a death determination. It may be that just by attrition, those cases resolve themselves. He may work out pleas in those cases to lesser and included offenses, although I doubt that will happen. I suspect it's possible that some of those will just get kicked down the road until they figure out what they're going to do with the murder. Now, keep in mind, what crime spree means is, even though the crimes happen in multiple jurisdictions, it's what we call the res gesti. It's an integral part. The crime spree, each prior crime is an integral part of the bigger crime.
Okay.
So you can't have one without the other, right? It's he did A, he did B, it led to C.
Which brings me right back around to, chronologically, I think you would try these the way they played out chronologically.
Sure, you could.
I mean, because that
Well, the
one
severity
thing
will
leads to
be-
the other.
yeah.
I tell you what, we got to take a break. You are going to play prosecutor when we come back.
Sure.
Got to take a break here. Going to check traffic. Going to check your money now. Then legally served with attorney Franz Borghardt continues right after this on Talk 107.3. Yeah. Baton Rouge Mattress is up next.
Eric Harold, my last Facebook jail stint was because of this POS. By the way, you can't say he needs his neck stretched on Facebook. Huh.
It's relatively safe.
Duly noted.
Yeah, the difference between Facebook and YouTube. First of all, the long-term goal would be to monetize the show.
Sure.
To where when we take breaks,
Making money is a
we
great
take
thing.
commercial breaks.
Yeah,
Right.
making money is a
I'd
great
like
thing.
to take commercial breaks.
Yeah. How many do you need to? How many followers do you need to do that? To achieve that?
I don't know. the 104.5 stuff, when they go to commercial, it's all fed through one big program to where our commercials run. So there's monetizing as far as YouTube's concerned, and there's monetizing as far as we're concerned.
But like your commercials that are playing now.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't those be played audibly on?
Because it's just audible in a video setting. All right, we're like 2 years away from this, though.
It's okay.
I mean, everybody sees.
You're still. I mean, I've seen your
lab.
I've seen your laptop. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not using Gateway anymore.
That's
awesome.
Jesus. The amount of time it took to get 104.5 where it's at.
You're just standing on the shoulders of titans, man.
Me?
The fine historical featured characters that made Talk 107.3 what it is.
Dude, what?
I don't even know what I was bad.
I was going to say, I was part of the original lineup of Talk 107.3.
You were, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Well, the morning show held hostage, at least.
Hostage? Exile, hostage. It's just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here, guys.
The first 6 months we were on the air, me and Matt Kennedy had non-competes we had to ride out. I negotiated mine down to 3 months. I think we're right on it. Oh.
We got Go Roo show this week.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Friday at 11?
I think so, yeah. Got
hey.
80s Pink Run.
Kill it right
Scott,
after her.
And Brock Cantrell.
You got Brock Cantrell?
Yep.
Nice.
Spared no expense. Went to the New Byrons over on Government in what used to be White Star. It's beautiful.
They opened yesterday, right?
Yep, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful space. It's Byron's, but it's a beautiful space. And I mean that. I don't mean a negative connotation. I mean it feels, the interior feels like it's Byron's or Byron's.
Why do they have a? Yeah, it's
originally
Byron.
Originally it was pronounced Byron's, and they don't correct people, and they let people do it both ways. Unlike me, who doesn't like to be called Franz.
No, but they'd be like, oh, it's pronounced Franz. It's pronounced Franz.
For the right amount of money, you can call me Susie. I'm like a Tina Turner private dancer song.
I don't need to know that.
Does it really surprise you, though?
No.
I'm tired, man.
I got Ed Ozier on show tonight.
That's still a thing? That's still a thing.
I got.
How does that
CCA
even
banquet
play at this
tomorrow
point?
night, and then live after 5 on Friday night.
How does that even play out at this point?
I don't think they're taking calls. I don't know. I didn't listen last week. Week before that, I was on the board for
Good thing you can still afford a burger, hamburger. So when he said the comment about being able to still buy a hamburger,
yeah,
I think he was talking Muya.
totally.
He wants a Muya burger.
Twice a double meat.
I feel like the slice of turkey analogy may not be the best one I've ever done.
This report is brought to you by Shop Hills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shop Hills.
.652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served, as we do every single week. So you want to put on your prosecutor's hat today?
I could do it.
You can.
I could prosecute this guy.
No kidding. I could prosecute this guy.
It'd be like watching a matador
It,
slowly bring down a bull.
So
This ain't okay. So one, this ain't exactly. While he's presumed innocent, it's not exactly a whodunit.
right.
Right. So, and your point about the exquisite art of prosecuting this guy is not so much the getting the conviction. Is if you are going to seek the death penalty, it's how do you put yourself in a position.
There's the rub. Yeah.
Right. Killing cops. Society frowns on that.
It does. Yeah.
It plays towards our social constructs, right? Just like you're not, and I'm not comparing skipping someone in line to killing a cop, but it's the same kind of, we have a social order that, and then by the way, the law aggravates a murder if it's a cop. And then in this case, you have what everybody agrees to be a good cop.
Yeah.
A cop that everybody liked. This is not like when somebody dies and they were a jerk and people are just saying good words about him because even though they were a jerk, you know.
No. Master Trooper Gobert was.
Yeah.
By all accounts,
this trooper was loved, beloved.
Yeah. And no doubt Pamela Adair was loved as well.
Sure.
So, but
crime spree.
Exactly.
Crime spree.
So, if you are prosecuting, how do you lay out the cases? Do you try them in order of importance, or?
So, I think what you got to do is, I think if I were prosecuting this, you got to make the decision first and foremost. Are we seeking death penalty or not? Do we want this guy rotting in Angola for the rest of his life, or do we want to spend the next 20 years seeking a death penalty?
Right.
And you would defer, and we've talked before, we'd defer to the families and see what they want. That being said, I would look at the cases and say, okay, there's multiple parishes involved in this. Strategically, what puts me in the best position to kill the bull, so to speak? Mm-hmm. Not trying to get into YouTube jail. To kill the bull like a well-skilled matador. If you've ever watched a matador do its thing, it's slow.
Let's work under the impression I've not.
All right, so it's slow stabs, strategic stabs, very artistically done, slow bleed out, and then they cook the meat.
Okay.
And they savor it like it's Wagyu. Anyways, so point being, and that got weird.
It did.
Point being is, I would figure out what do I want to do, and then what puts me in the best position to do that. Mm-hmm. Look, some of the lesser crimes, they paint a picture, though. When we use the word crime spree, what does that mean? What does a crime spree mean at the end of the day? Flagrant disregard for societal laws.
Over a period of time.
Over a period of space. Right. Dangerous.
Yeah.
Thank God that only 2 people died.
True.
Thank God. Could have been worse. You know? And some people, the argument would be, some people, we can't afford, if we're seeking the death penalty, we can't afford to have them in society. And putting them in prison for the rest of their lives just isn't safe enough.
Okay.
That would be the death penalty argument.
Now,
but in order to do that, look at the aggravators and
Yeah, but in order to do that, wouldn't you need to prove all the other cases first before getting to the murder?
Not necessarily. They come in. They come in because they're integral parts. I'm not trying to go down the rabbit hole with as little time as we have, but I'm telling you, under what we call 404B or other crimes evidence, they're going to come in because they're integral. We call it a crime spree. It was all one continuous act. And while the prosecutor can't prosecute you here for what you did in West Baton Rouge, it is a part of the narrative of their case.
Okay.
Right? So you can bring it in. Right? Now, you may have to jump through some hoops to bring it in, but it's coming in.
All right. As far as a crime spree is concerned, though, if I'm defending the death penalty, if I'm defending Mir, then I've got to say that nothing else has been proven yet, right?
Well, it's a different standard for other crimes evidence. You'd have the right to challenge that. You could say, what does this crime over here have to do with this murder? You can prove your murder without the other crime. I'm not going to
acknowledge that crime because he hasn't been convicted of that crime yet.
Good luck.
What do you mean?
Good luck. It's one continuous act. So the prosecutor is going to be able to argue, Judge, I can't prove my case over here without telling the jury the why on this other side of things. He's not being prosecuted, Your Honor. I'm just giving them a narrative of what happened, so it's not confusing
But
to
that
the jury.
narrative has to assume guilt, and he is innocent
It's
until
a
proven
difference.
guilty.
For other crimes evidence, it's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's clear and convincing or preponderance of the evidence. No matter where you are.
Man, that is
welcome to my life. You mean you don't like the fact
This
that
whole thing was a setup.
you mean you
jerk.
don't like it that other crimes evidence can come in but not proven beyond a reasonable doubt? Oh, boo-hoo.
Oh, I bet. Oh, man. Was this whole thing a setup for you to get me to do that? Okay,
so
good.
the alternative is another prosecutor might say, I don't need all this stuff to come in. He's a murderous POS, and I don't need it. I can convict him for what he did alone in the murder case. I don't need this extra stuff. I don't need it.
All right.
Killing a trooper. It's kind of that murder case
Yeah.
may be like shooting fish in a barrel. No pun intended. That's kind of
Rethink that one. All right. What's coming up on Go Rouge this week?
transitioning.
Yeah.
I've
We've got 1 minute left.
I've got Kendra Scott coming in.
What?
They are working with the Real Men Wear Pink campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, are you shocked Kendra Scott doing something with me for
I
Real Men
mean,
Wear Pink?
no, I'm not.
I've got Brock Cantor
Actually
coming.
shocked it's taken this long.
Yeah, I know. Brock Cantor, they've been on the show before. Brock Cantor's coming in to talk about a basketball camp that just happened. Very exciting. And then I've got Franz Borghardt's organizing, along with a few other Mid-City folks, a Pink 80s run for Real Men Wear Pink. That's coming up in a few weeks. Dude, I feel like Atlas. I feel like Atlas just carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Pink runs, Kendra Scott events next week. I mean, it's just
Garbage Metairie Parade. Yeah.
Garbage Metairie Parade.
Atlas. Never mind. All right. Go Rouge, Saturday at noon. Of course, you can follow the Go Rouge YouTube channel. Appreciate you, man. Here comes CBS.
All right.
Protect your retirement. Presley Group time, 7
I don't even know if Atlas rolls anymore.
You going to have Mardi Gras this year?
Yeah. Bro, we better.
Or what? What happens if you don't?
You know what? Absolutely nothing
She doesn't
happens.
not get selected again? I mean,
Well, she's on the ballot this fall, not next spring. So I don't know how. And there's like 15 also rans that never should have bothered. She's got nobody running against her. She's got a 62% approval rating after canceling Mardi Gras.
kryptonite. Bring kryptonite. See you guys.
Later, bro. Thank you.
The person that we have for 7:15 is that Jason
DECUIR.
UIR.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's capital D and capital C in DeCuir. DEC. Okay.
By the way, and this, I'm seeing two different things. Is Garret Graves, is Garret spelled with one T or two?
One. That's an.
It's spelled two in this.
Yeah, that's going to be like that for the next 6 weeks then, because I've got these printed in bulk.
No, that's okay. That's what I read it as, so I spelled his name like that every time.
That's all right.
I went back and changed it.
Thank you. I'm going to knock out Baton Rouge Mattress before I dive into top stories and trending. Whatever pain meds I took before the show have worn off. Well, before I left the house, I should say. Were they done? No. She was mid-sentence. The Muggies are back. Okay. I'll do complete collision on the back end of next segment. I'm gonna talk with Traffic about how they schedule these as well, because to be that front loaded every single day. .706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Thanks again to attorney Franz Borghardt for completely suckering me into playing the defense attorney. Oh, man. Good stuff. If you missed Legally Served, it'll be available on demand shortly after the show is over with. This hour, D.C. Current with Congressman Garret Graves. We got a lot of ground to cover. Has the overall reconciliation bill dropped, or is that just the infrastructure bill? Dropped in cost? Is it to a tolerable level yet? Short answer, no. We'll talk with Garret Graves at 7:35. 7:15, Jason DeCuir is going to hop on board to talk about Constitutional Amendment number 1. It is on your ballot November 13th. What is it? What does it mean? How does it benefit us? We're talking with him about that at 7:15. Going to get you to top stories and trending in just a minute. Oh, hey, before we do, though, starting off at 68 degrees. Right now in Baton Rouge. You heard the forecast from Marissa Nuzzo. Going to be on the lookout this afternoon. From 2 o'clock to about 6 o'clock, expect rain. Expect rain throughout the capital area. And what does that rain mean as far as our overall temperatures are concerned? Is this another cool front resetting things? Not necessarily. Tomorrow's high set to be 86 as well. Friday's is at 85. But here's the thing, though. it's supposed to knock the humidity down a little bit once the rain comes through, so it will be a little bit cooler feeling, not necessarily cooler temperatures. Overnight low is going to be down to 60, 61 degrees thereabouts over the next couple nights. All right, get to top stories and trending in just a second. First, I got to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. You know what? We haven't done a testimonial in a little while. Let me grab one from their Facebook page. Ben at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet in Baton Rouge. Ben is the best, says Prince Griffin. He worked with me on a price. He worked with me on a price and delivered the mattress to my house. Come check them out. You will not be disappointed. If you follow Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet on Facebook, every Tuesday they'll post up a different testimonial. Testimonial Tuesday is what they're calling it. And every week you will get a similar story. The prices are great. The service is even better. The bottom line is Mitch wants to work with you to put you in a mattress that's going to get you a good night's sleep. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not getting the most out of your day. It all starts with how you slept the night before. And that's where the folks at both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet come in. 4065 Florida Boulevard if you're in Mid-City. 18181 at Jefferson Highway. That is the corner of Jefferson and Husha 2 if you're down in the southeastern corner of the parish. But both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet have the same great prices and the same great service. And if you mention you heard about it here, you get free delivery. It's time for top stories and trending. Let's go. The headline reads, local bars facing shortage of liquor brought on by hurricane and pandemic. Your favorite drink might be a little harder to find these days. Local bars are having trouble keeping their shelves stocked, and it is giving bartenders a major headache. Quote, Jack Daniels would be a huge one. We can't hardly get that in at all consistently. Tequila is more rare than gold. A lot of domestic beers have been coming in and out of stock. Miller Lite's been super hard to get a hold of consistently, says Caleb Cal, general manager of Radio Bar. So the shortage of liquor is not just confined to the capital area. The bar owners are saying this is a statewide issue brought on by both Hurricane Ida and a labor shortage from the pandemic. I could have sworn it had a lot more to do with just how much we're drinking all these days. Starting this week, Entergy crews will be working along Highland Road to replace 130 utility poles and nearly 65,000 feet of electrical lines. Entergy said customers will be notified before outages happen in their area. Drivers should consider taking an alternate route as traffic could be backed up. Most of their work will be along Highland between Bluebonnet and Pico. Entergy said crews could be working through mid to late December. Bold suggestion, grab a shovel, put them underground. Another person was arrested Monday in a murder that happened at the end of April. BRPD said they've arrested 19-year-old D'Angelo Givens, who they suspect was one of two people involved with the murder of Carlton Phillips. On April 24th, 21-year-old Carlton Phillips was found shot to death inside his vehicle on North Donmore. Police said at the time they believe the shooting was drug-related. According to arrest documents, Givens told police he bought weed from Phillips before he murdered him. Givens was booked on a charge of first-degree murder and armed robbery. 19-year-old Mackay Palmer Davis had already been held in the parish jail when they pinned him as the suspected gunman in that shooting. Louisiana collected enough business taxes during the last budget year to deposit the first $205 million into a never-before-used 5-year-old trust fund created to curb the state's boom and bust cycles of budgeting. Every year, the Revenue Estimating Conference runs into whatever hurdles they might have, from a pandemic to 5 named storms touching land, and every year there's a work in progress to make it a little bit better. Now, the money that's been collected might not be spent for years. 54% of voters agreed back in 2016 to set up the Revenue Stabilization Trust Fund to siphon off a portion of the state's oil and gas revenue and corporate taxes when those collections are higher than usual. That trust fund was designed to help respond to the wide fluctuations that we've seen in those two sources of state income. Governor John Bell Edwards' Division of Administration said more than $205 million from the budget year that ended June 30th was sent to the trust fund. That number and timeline surprised a lot of lawmakers. A woman was allegedly killed by her boyfriend at an apartment complex along Burbank Drive, just minutes from LSU. The shooting was first reported before 1:30 p.m. yesterday at the Oliver Apartments. East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office said the woman was found dead in one of those apartments. A man was arrested in the shooting. The department has not yet released his identity. Investigators said the suspect admitted to shooting and killing his girlfriend. He was booked into the parish jail yesterday. That's a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending tomorrow. Taco Bell. Yeah, I know. Taco Bell wants to make sure you don't miss out on the most important meal of the day. That would be breakfast. You know, is breakfast really the most important meal of the day? You know who says breakfast is the most important meal of the day? People who sell breakfast. The fast food chain is offering free breakfast burritos at their U.S. restaurants tomorrow from 7 to 11 a.m. Taco Bell expanded their menu options last year with a new line of pressed breakfast burritos. The burritos are part of Thursday's giveaway, one per person, and you can't just go from Taco Bell to Taco Bell trying to stack up as many burritos as you can get. Although, really, is the Taco Bell on Perkins going to call the Taco Bell on Sherwood if you really wanted to make the rounds? That is top stories and trending. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, centralized sales tax. It's on your ballot this November. What does it mean? Jason DeCuir joins us next. All right. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-do-dee-da.
Overall, the drive really isn't that bad. Earlier, we had an issue at the entrance ramp, right near Perkins and I-10 westbound. That's clear, but there's a slight slowdown in the area. Restrictions apply like colleagues staying in Essex and Bonnet this morning, and volume a little bit heavier on that westbound side, I-10 Perkins. Again, there was some earlier issues here, so folks pumping the brakes. Also, note a slowdown around O'Neill on I-12 and also coming in from Denham. The slow stretch really is between Jupiter Range and then between Millerville and Sherwood. Those extra slow pockets, but 31 due to the slip. Let's take you outside. You can check on our cameras here. The bridge is clear, no problems. And traveling between the 10 and 12 Thursday LA 1, about a 3-minute drive.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbills.
716, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So voters will have the opportunity to completely transform the way Louisiana collects taxes on November 13th. Joining us now to talk about that with Advantis is Jason DeCuir. He joined us throughout the legislative session to talk about how how this thing came to be and ended up on our ballot to begin with. We welcome him back now. Jason, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Happy Hump Day, Brian. Have you found us the LSU football coach yet?
Yes, I found 3 so far.
Good.
So it's looking more and more. Well, I heard the initial conversation with James Franklin did not go great.
Oh, wow.
And that's the guy that I want. Well, I heard that on Moscona show yesterday. Look, if I've got my crosshairs on anybody, it's James Franklin. I mean, the dude won at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, no, that's right. All signs seem to be pointing in that direction, but I guess him not being from this area, there's some concern there, and probably just coming into the SEC in general, there's concern. So.
Yeah, I mean, coming back in and from Penn State. I tell you what, though, the top 3 names between Franklin, Mel Tucker, and Lane Kiffin, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 3.
Good.
So,
Good.
we'll be in good hands regardless. So November 13th, we have the opportunity to join 48 other states in the way sales taxes are collected.
Yes, no, that's right, and I mean, this is something, Brian. I hate to say it, and it sounds cliche, but it's a no-brainer. I mean, the rest of the country collects sales tax in this manner through at least one centralized or streamlined portal. Except for Colorado, I know they need to work on the same improvements, and the reason is you have to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, this is the way that we now transact business in our economy, and you have to have a system that can allow you to collect it and collect it legally without burdening businesses. And right now, we've tried everything under the sun in terms of fracturing our system, splitting up our system, collecting certain sales tax one way and another set of sales tax another way, and that's just not going to cut it. It would put our state and even local parish in legal jeopardy in terms of the dollars that they're currently collecting. And so, I mean, this is just a move that must be made and has to be made if we're going to continue to collect sales tax in Louisiana.
All right, let's break this down segment by segment because a lot goes into this. Let's start with the mom and pop brick and mortar stores. What's the benefit for them of changing things this way?
Well, the benefit for them is they're the ones, believe it or not, which are our in-state businesses that are burdened the most.
Yes.
I mean, if they're operating in multiple parishes, Brian, which a lot of small businesses do, they are subject to having to fill out returns in each one of those parishes. They're subject to potentially having audits in each one of those parishes. And think about the audits. If you've ever been in this arena, they don't all come in at the same time and get it over. I mean, you may have one parish come in 2021, the next parish come in 2022, and the next parish come in 2023, and you've been under audit for 3 years, and then the state still has a right to come in and do that as well. And so, hopefully with this commission, all of these, local governments in the state will begin to work together under one umbrella and begin to make audits more efficient. Obviously, remitting of the tax will definitely be more efficient, and those in-state businesses won't be as burdened. Now, the out-of-state businesses, if you sell remote sales or online sales, you actually get to go through a whole different collection entity, and it's more streamlined. So it's actually unfair to the in-state businesses that they have to navigate all of these various layers, but the out-of-state seller gets to simply remit through one portal in the Remote Sales Commission, and that one portal is what we need to have for all of our business.
As far as those out-of-state retailers are concerned, are they paying their fair share right now?
Brian, that is very difficult to discern. It's a great question, and it's one of the reasons that this needs to happen. First of all, if you're an out-of-state seller, you only have to remit and pay sales tax to the extent that you're doing at least 100 transactions a year into the state or over $200,000 worth of sales into the state. That was the ruling from the Supreme Court case in Wayfair. So if you're an out-of-state business and you're doing less than that threshold, but still making sales into Louisiana, you do not have to collect sales tax and remit it. However, that in-state business selling the same thing, the mom and pop selling the same thing, does. And so, but even if you're over that threshold, there are some businesses out there that I'm aware of that are saying, hey, you know what, Louisiana's system does not meet the standard in Wayfair. It's not a simplified system. It's not a streamlined system. And therefore, we don't have the obligation to collect and remit. So I do believe that there are some online and remote sellers that may even meet the threshold, but saying, I don't believe Louisiana's system is constitutional, and therefore I don't have to collect, and come get me if you want. And that's where the state and local governments are potentially losing dollars.
Right, and that's the part that I always find so confusing is if you've got more than 100 transactions within the state, but let's say it's broken down, 25 in Baton Rouge, 25 in Livingston, 25 in Ascension, 25 in West Baton Rouge, and 25 in Point Capee, whose job is it to come and get you because it's evenly distributed over 5 different taxing entities?
Well, and that's just the problem, and they're not necessarily working together on that, and you know they're not operating under the same sort of commission, and so yeah, you have a bunch of people looking around at each other, and those are just the problems with our system. We've got to move this into one centralized system so everybody understands the rules of the game. You know who you're dealing with, and it just makes it simpler and more efficient for businesses as to collect and remit. And you know, this is not like we're trying to do something new. Every other state in the country does it this way, Brian. We're the outlier here.
Now, when it comes to overall revenue generated, what are we missing so far?
You know, that's a lot of people's favorite question to ask me, and I don't want to sit here and say, okay, it's 500 or it's $1 billion or whatever it may be. But there are some things, some comparisons that you can do that I think will justify Louisiana is not getting its fair share. One of the states we look to is Mississippi, and you look at Mississippi's overall sales tax collections. It is no doubt it is much higher than Louisiana's. Their rate is lower. They have less people than we have, and there's less sales going into Mississippi. And so, if you just do that, that side to side, that reasoning there, then it's clear that Louisiana should be doing a lot more than it is. And again, this is money. If we just get our house in order, this is money that's due us. It's not an extra tax. It's not a new tax. It's a tax that's already on the books that we should be getting the revenue from. The only reason we're not is because, we haven't cleaned up our system. And as you know, every time we have a revenue shortfall or a budget issue, then we start trying to raise taxes on other businesses and people. Well, here's an opportunity where we just get our system right. We won't run into those issues.
Jason DeCuir is with us talking about the constitutional amendment number 1 that's going to be on your ballot on November 13th. All right, Jason, let's shift the focus here. Now walk down the path of I am with the local sheriff's office or the local tax collector, where oftentimes it's the sheriff's office, but whatever the local tax collecting entity might be. What are the benefits to the local or previously local tax collector should this thing pass?
Well, there's several benefits. One, we just talked about it. The efficiency and the ease in which they will be able to collect sales tax increases dramatically. And if you know anything about the tax administration business, the one thing that helps you get in revenue the fastest is if you have a simplified system that makes it easier for taxpayers to comply. You go in another state, they fill out one return, boom, they're done. You're in Louisiana, and you got to fill out 30, 40 different returns. Those returns come in slower, they come in later, they're asking for extensions, and thus the revenue doesn't come in as fast. So there is no doubt that they will get revenue faster and more efficiently. Secondly, they have 4 seats on this commission. Right now, they are the remote out-of-state dollars we were talking about is being collected through another commission housed at LDR, and then they have to wait for the Department of Revenue to send it to them, and then they can send it on to where it needs to go in the parish. They will be on the commission that collects the taxes. They'll get the money faster and more efficiently that way. And then thirdly, it takes them out of risk of getting sued by some out-of-state taxpayer. And Brian, if that were to happen, because call it, parish A, B, and C are collecting sales, and it's found that they have not been collecting it legally under Wayfair, then they're going to have to refund, potentially for the past couple of years, 3 years is how far you can go back, those dollars back to those taxpayers or those businesses, and that's going to leave them in a big budget situation. And so, those are the several things that really will make this better for the parish and the state for that matter.
Got Jason DeCuir for a couple more minutes talking about constitutional amendment number 1 that's going to be on your ballot on November 13th. Jason, the other sector that I wanted to ask about is one that I guess don't know if it directly affects them, but the larger businesses that don't charge sales tax but are likely paying sales tax. How does this affect them? let's say an ExxonMobil, who's got smaller clientele throughout. Is this going to have any effect on the way they handle business and the way they do business as well?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who is subject to collecting or remitting sales tax is going to, would be impacted, but impacted in a good way. So, when you think about sales tax, you have to think about two parts. We commonly refer to it as sales tax, but the other portion is use tax.
Yes.
And so anytime you are ordering goods from out of state or going to pick up goods from out of state and bringing them into the state for use, then we typically refer to that as use tax. A lot of those large companies that you mentioned, Brian, they, although they do sell product, you can imagine they're bringing tons of product and other things into the state that are subject to use tax, and we call those accruals. And so they would have to then, complete all of the tax that would be due on any such accruals that are brought into the state and remit it. But you still have to remit it back to the state and to each parish that it could be used in. And so this will simplify that process for those companies as well.
I mean, it boils down to simplification and a level playing field. This one feels like a no-brainer, like you led off with when you said that. It feels like a no-brainer, a yes vote on Amendment 1 on November 13th.
Yeah, I mean, we need people to get out and vote. I mean, this is going to push us in the right direction. There's still going to be some homework to do, even after it passes. The commission obviously will have to get up and get running, but this is something that's much needed. And we didn't even really get into some of the economic development benefits and just the other benefits in terms of making the state more attractive and appealing for people to do business here.
Well, we got time. Let's get you back on the books before November 13th.
Let's do it, Brian. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Love having you on. Appreciate it, Jason.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks
a
million.
Bye-bye.
Bye. November 13th. Hey, look, Debbie says on YouTube, first time hearing about this, they need a better way of communicating these amendments. Yes, they're not. Amendments aren't sexy. When you go to the polling place, amendments aren't sexy. Big office candidates are sexy, right? But this right here is going to do more for your wallet, more for your bank account than any candidate you voted for in the last 10 years. Any individual, single candidate you voted for in the last 10 years. I mean, aside from maybe the presidential race, this will have a direct impact on what goes down when it comes to your money coming in and going out. So, yeah, we will talk about this a lot more leading up to the November 13th election, because while it's not a big-ticket office, it is nonetheless vital to how we do business in this state. Let's talk about how we do business at Capitol Hill with Garret Graves next. Stuck to the bottom of my glass. No, it's... Is it on the bottom? It's not. It's on the inside, but it's like fully stuck down there. Listen to this. Never mind. I thought he was going to pull an audio from Franz from an hour ago. That would have been a quick turnaround.
Maybe in the 8:30 hour.
Yeah, duty. Love the fact that the lieutenant governor just calls it the Macy's Day Parade. It's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's Thanksgiving Day. It's not Macy's Day. It's just one of those things that we've always called it in South Louisiana.
Do you care about Thanksgiving? Or are you just like straight to Christmas?
No, I love Thanksgiving.
This is always the best time of the year, holiday season. Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas or whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
There's always something in December.
Right now, traffic on I-12 jammed at O'Neill as well as Range. This is normal for this time of day. 26 minutes due to the 10-12 merge. No additional crashes or breakdowns. About 8 from the split to LA1. Use caution between Bluebonnet and Essen. I'm noticing some backups there. Right at the top of the bridge, folks slowing down from LA1 to the 10-110. But still, the drive around the Mississippi River Bridge looks pretty fine. Let's take you outside and check on our cameras here, where you can see the bridge for yourself. Cars are spaced out here, which is always a good sign. No issues around College Drive, surface streets through Baton Rouge, picking up volume, but again, no additional crashes or anything out of the ordinary going on.
See an accident? Get reported at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbells, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbells. Haldane here. Let's talk convenience from your local grocer, specifically the Mathern's app. Knock out your grocery shopping before you leave work. Pick it up on your way home. That's convenience at either location, downtown on 3rd or Nicholson across from Tiger Stadium. Use the promo code TALK for 10% off your order all month long with the Mathern's app. Some exclusions may apply. Oh my God.
Live After 5 continues this Friday in downtown Baton Rouge with the music of Fat Hat. Each show running through November 5th takes place Fridays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at City Hall Plaza on Vernon
That's on me.
downtown. So bring your chairs and get
Yes, for me.
fans right on into the weekend. We'll see you this Friday at Live After 5. Brought to you by the Downtown Business Association and supported by Downtown Physical Therapy. Making retreat to rehabilitation easier in downtown Baton Rouge.
This is Skip Bergman, and as a coach for over 50 years and the father of 4 daughters, we've had a lot of happiness and accumulated lots of stuff. Dependable Storage wants your stuff. Now open in Baton Rouge. Visit dependablestorage.com. Terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Terms and conditions apply. Visit details. Hey, how'd you like to get paid to work out? Yes, I said get paid to work out. Now you can with ISSA, the global leader in personal fitness certification. If you're interested in a money-making career in fitness as a personal trainer, now is your time because ISSA is guaranteeing you will get a job. That's right, there's a huge demand for certified personal trainers right now. So once you get ISSA certified, they guarantee you'll get a job. Just text LEAD to 323232 now to get started for free. You do everything at your own pace and 100% online. Live your life on your terms. Get certified and train like you want. Full-time at a gym, at home, or as a side hustle. Whatever works for you. Don't wait another day to start your career in fitness. Get certified and start making money fast. Guaranteed. Just text LEAD to
We're going to be live in
right now to get started with your ISSA certification for free. Text the word LEAD to 323232. Brandon Olive here. Stop. Cleveland.com. I'm Shady Coach.
BRPT.
Okay.
Did you do PPP?
No.
A little bit of news, a whole lot of fun. Join me.
The buggies are back. This morning will be part of the last humidity. Temperatures will dip below 80s this afternoon as shower starts to level up. Showers will be most likely later to the south. The showers will move generally from south to north and then die out as they go. The most active time for rain will be between about 2 and 7 p.m. Expect to hit some wet roads on your evening commute. Overnight temperatures will be muggy again in the upper 60s. A few showers may linger into Thursday morning. Temperatures will gradually rise from the low 90s.
.738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Time for D.C. Current. Time for us to check in with Congressman Garret Graves, and we do that right now. Congressman Graves, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing all right. We got a lot of ground to cover today. You got a lot going on. First of all, there's been some movement with the infrastructure talk, or is it on the infrastructure side or the reconciliation side where there's been a compromise offered?
Yeah, it's more so on the reconciliation side, which is the big expansion of some of the social welfare programs. So that bill, as you and I discussed last week, it's ballooned to $4.3 trillion. They're trying to call it human infrastructure, but really just expanding a lot of our social programs, social welfare programs. And now they're trying to get it down to somewhere below $2 trillion. Still an extraordinary amount of money. And I think, Brian, it's the wrong way to go just with the labor shortage, supply chain shortage, and everything we're seeing. We don't need to expand programs to have people not working. We need to incentivize people to get back into the workforce and get our economy moving again.
Is the $2 trillion number palatable enough to get it through the Senate, though?
It's still higher than what Senator Manchin has said. Also, some of the provisions they're trying to add in there violate the principles that he's laid out, and of course they need every single vote, including his. So I think it still has an uphill battle, but certainly by bringing the number down from $4.3 trillion closer to the $1.5 trillion marker that he's laid out there, it's a movement. It's movement in the right direction. And as you and I have discussed, I think it's a big mistake.
Yeah,
linking together the infrastructure bill with the reconciliation package. I think they ought to try and move these things as separate bills.
A bad idea is a bad idea, regardless of what you spend on it. It's like saying, we're, instead of standing in the middle of the train tracks, we're going to compromise and straddle one track. You're still there.
Absolutely. And look, the reality is that if they move the infrastructure bill on its own, despite the concerns that I've got, you and I have discussed, I do think that bill will pass. And to force, to use the one bill that appears to have the votes to pass as leverage to force a bad bill through, I just think that's the wrong way to go. For months now, you heard Biden and others saying they were not going to connect all these bills together. And I remind you, we're on track this year to spend $11.4 trillion. I mean, these are numbers we've never seen before. Just outrageous amount of money, and seeing the disconnect in the workforce and the supply chain. We really need to be focusing on things like that and actually get the economy moving again, not spending dollars like we saw the failed attempts earlier last year and this year to pay people more to stay home than paying them to work. This is not how America became a great nation, by becoming more dependent upon government. We've got crisis at the border. We've got energy prices, inflation, just Afghanistan. Let's focus on real issues right now and not get into all of these divisive programs like expanding social welfare right now. It's ripping the country apart, and I just think it's the wrong direction.
Well, and that's the part that I really can't grasp, or that I really can't get past, is the idea of what we've already spent because of the pandemic. Those are real dollars that have been spent. And yes, it is an unprecedented time. Emergency dollars, absolutely. But just because emergency dollars have gone out doesn't mean you have to print more to ship out the door as well.
Amen. Totally agree. But look, we've got some good things going on too. We're going to be announcing some grants for some of our local law enforcement coming up, just helping to get them some dollars to help address some of the violent crime spikes that we've seen. We deserve to have safe communities where we live and we work and we raise our families. So we're going to be announcing that soon, and we're working on finishing touches on trying to forgive some of the disaster loans that our community took out, like the fire departments and local governments took out for the 2016 flood. And Brian, even some loans from our local governments dating back to Hurricane Katrina. So working on some forgiveness there. We're going to see some Baton Rouge fire departments, Central fire departments, governments in Plaquemine, St. Tammany, and a number of others are going to be benefiting from this. So that's a little bit of good news and among all the controversy going on. So we've got some good things going on too.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. We call it D.C. Current. We check in every single week. Congressman, one thing I was unable to get to last week, we just had so much going on. One thing I was unable to get to last week was your office had an announcement about the Highway 1, raising Highway 1 up. This is a lot more monumental than I think people give it credit for.
this was a huge deal. So Highway 1, Louisiana Highway 1, which goes all the way down to Grand Isle. For those people who like to fish, for people who work in the energy industry, bird watch, whatever it is that you do, you've been on that road. And it is the iconic photo every time we have a wind blowing from the south, every time you have high tides or you have a hurricane or storm, that road goes underwater. There is one road connecting Grand Isle and Port Fourchon to the rest of the world. And when the road goes underwater, it's inaccessible. And during Hurricane Ida, the road got pounded, and so we have been working for years now. We've been able to get dollars to elevate that roadway from Fourchon on to Leeville. But from Leeville, Louisiana, and Lafourche Parish up to Golden Meadow, it is all just at grade. In fact, when you drive it, sometimes you're looking at Bayou Lafourche that's 6 inches or a foot lower than you are, and it's not okay to have a really just a lifeline type road that's like that. So this is going to be the last section of the road between Leeville and Golden Meadow. It's going to be elevated. It's going to then drop into the hurricane protection levee and be protected. So we're going to have a protected, elevated route all the way from all the way down to Port Fourchon that will not be going underwater, will not have those photos that we end up unfortunately seeing every year where the road's underwater. So this has been something that's been going on since the early to mid 1990s, and this is the last payment, and we're so excited. We were able to get the largest grant in the nation last year, and now that project is being awarded. It's going to go to construction, and we're going to have a protected, elevated roadway. So great news for Louisiana, important part of our economy, tourism, fisheries, all of it. So really big win.
Yeah, I want to say I've heard the number before that when LA1 is underwater, it costs the state's economy $1 million a minute.
Yeah, I don't remember the statistic, but the United States Department of Homeland Security did an analysis and found that it would cause job losses across the United States, billions and billions of dollars of economic impact. Look, this is the top offshore energy port in the nation, servicing 90% of all the offshore energy, which, in some years we produce somewhere between 12 and 17% of all the offshore oil, of all the offshore of the energy of the oil produced on public lands and waters in the United States. I mean, this is a huge percentage of our nation's energy that is supplied from the offshore, and this thing, you can imagine, just totally cut off, really causes severe impacts, not just in Louisiana, but across the United States.
Got Congressman Garret Graves for a couple more minutes. I've got to reserve some room for CCA on the back end of this because I know that's one that hits home with you as well. But before we do that, Hurricane Ida recovery, where is your office with helping out right now?
Well, so we've got a few things going on. One, and kind of one of the issues on the front burner, is this fraud issue. Look, when you have these criminals, and let's call them what they are, that are going out and applying for disaster assistance for somebody who really needs it, they've then diverted money to a criminal that should have gone to a real disaster victim, somebody who's truly in need. And so the disaster victim is not getting the funds. So look, this is on the front burner. Getting FEMA to address this across the board, this never should have happened. And so that's number one. Number two, we're working with the Corps of Engineers. As a matter of fact, I've got a call today with the top political official from the Corps of Engineers, pushing them. We announced, they just kind of did a soft announcement weeks ago saying that we have secured $2 billion in additional flood protection, hurricane protection, and waterway dredging for South Louisiana. Additional $2 billion, Brian, huge slug of money. We're trying to make sure those dollars go to the right project, so we're going to be working with him on that today. And then the other piece is pushing the Department of Housing and Urban Development to get that $1.6 billion in assistance out to flood victims, to Hurricane Ida victims, and Hurricane Laura Delta Zeta victims as quickly as possible. You recall that a month after Hurricane Ida, we secured an extra $1 billion that's going to go directly to hurricane victims for rebuilding homes, to address their immediate needs, and so we're trying to push HUD to get that allocation of funds out the door as quickly as possible, so we can get it in the hands of our disaster victims and let them rebuild their homes and get their lives put back together as quickly as possible.
Tomorrow night, Jada Cody and I are going out. Could be doing the Jada Cody Show live from the CCA Louisiana Baton Rouge chapter Star Awards and annual banquet. I know CCA is one that's pretty near and dear to your heart. Tell me a little bit about the banquet itself, or tell me a little bit about your affiliation with them and what gets done.
Sure. CCA is such a great group. We love working with them on fisheries policy. Look, this is everything from the guy that lives out in rural Louisiana, or the family that just loves to fish and has some 50-year-old bay boat that they love to go out and fish, to the CEOs. I mean, it's the most diverse group of people, and it's just people that have that common love for just getting out in the water and enjoying the bounty of the Gulf of Mexico. It's all the recreational fishers across South Louisiana. So there's they do a banquet all across the state, but the Baton Rouge one is on Thursday night, and you're going to meet some of first of all, they do a great job, but you're going to meet some of the most fun-loving people, and it's so good to see just this really diverse group of people that just have this common thread of just the love for the bounty of the Gulf of Mexico. They want to protect it. They want to make sure that they maintain access to it for generations to come. And you're going to have a super time out there, I promise.
No, it is. I've been to it before, and it's fantastic. That's why I'm going back to it. And yeah, they're a group that, like you said, fun-loving, but shows results, shows ROI for everything they put into it. He is Congressman Garret Graves. We visit every single Wednesday at this time. Congressman, I got to let you get back to work, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good week.
You do the exact same. And, yeah, the Jada Cody Show will be live from Live Oak Arabians on Jefferson Highway, 4 to 6 tomorrow evening. The CCA Star Awards starts at 5:30. They run all the way up until 11 o'clock. Jay and I will be out there holding it down. We hope to see you out there. It's time for Your Money Now, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Outside In is next. Scusi. All right. I'll do complete collision on the way back in here before getting the outside in. You play the break. And, oh. 755 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Thanks again to Congressman Garret Graves for hopping on board for D.C. Current. Hey, coming up next hour, State Senator Rick Ward is going to join us to talk about everything from how much we rely upon federal dollars for our DOTD to fortifying our electrical grid and more. Senator Ward was at the press club on Monday. This is basically follow-up and a little more in-depth than all of the sound bites that popped up from there. Also coming up next hour, Deborah Voorhees, the director of the new film 13 Fanboy, which is kind of picking up on the love of the Friday the 13th series. Kind of gets you in the Halloween spirit next hour. Hey, we got the Outside In coming your way in just a second. Enough time for me to tell you, when you get into a car accident, a lot of stuff happens very fast. First of all, you got to make sure everybody's okay. Assess damage to your car. Are you blocking traffic? Where are you taking your car to get it fixed? Whoop, that's a big question that we need to address before the accident even happens. Why? Because so much is happening after an accident happens. So do me a favor. Put this number in your phone. 768-9898. 768-9898. That is the main number for Complete Collision Center, either location, 19511 Plank Road in Zachary or 9848 Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. The reason you want to call Complete Collision Center is you want to be the customer. If you call your insurance company first, they're going to send you where they have a deal hammered out. It's cheaper for them. You want to go where you know you're getting back on the road safely, and that is Complete Collision Center. Check them out online, CompleteCollision.com. The phone number again, 768-9898. All right, it is time to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. It is time for the Outside In. We start off in Rapides Parish. A 50-year-old woman has accepted a 50-year sentence as part of a plea agreement in the 2018 death of her 25-year-old disabled daughter who died dehydrated and in filth. Karen Johnson Harrison of the Plainview area, pleaded guilty Monday to manslaughter and conspiracy to commit second-degree murder of Syra Chantel Marie Harrison, who had cerebral palsy. The coroner's report described Harrison's death as homicide. She died from failure to thrive and dehydration due to cerebral palsy and neglect. According to the report, her weight was estimated at her death 65 to 70 pounds. Karen Harrison had been scheduled for trial, but agreed to the 50-year sentence as part of a plea deal instead. In Ascension Parish, a council member at the center of a controversial move to unseat Parish President Clint Quinmaw from overseeing the parish's drainage plans was escorted from a heated drainage board meeting by police and his colleagues Monday night. Video showed Corey Ogeron being removed from the East Ascension Drainage Board meeting after he began shouting at some of his constituents and at least one fellow board member. The confrontation stirred as the council discussed hiring William Rue, who's filled Quinmaw's former role on an interim basis as the East Ascension Drainage Liaison. What's with Ogeron's getting outed this week? Keeping it in Ascension Parish, you've got until Monday to get on the list for debris pickup. Ascension's communication director Martin McConnell says they feel like they'll be completely done with pickup by the end of October. So far, the parish has picked up 320,000 cubic yards of debris. You can register online or call 450-1200, 450-1200. That is the Outside In. Let's get you to CBS News. Then Hour 3 is coming your way next. All right. This back stuff is making me tired now. So debilitating. Hey, what's happening? Come on in. Yeah, doing very well. Getting squared away for the next hour. Oh, I apologize. It's been. This is the most mobile I've been all week, so I think I'm on the back end of it. Have a seat. We got one segment to go before yours.
Yeah, it's that is as miserable of a thing as you can deal with, just because it affects everything.
Well, I've got muscle relaxers, but I can't take muscle relaxers and stay awake.
Exactly.
So I need something else, and well, that's not on the table right now.
Right.
So.
Everything else been good?
Oh yeah, plugging right along. How about on your end?
Everything's good. Been busy. Work and legislative stuff. That's it. Just kind of waiting to see. I'm thankful we hadn't had any special sessions. That's been nice.
We're always on YouTube. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I figured that. So that's been. I'll publicly say that.
Well, there will eventually be
Yeah, we'll have the
soon.
redistricting
Yeah.
special in February, but at least that's planned for. It's those ones that kind of pop up.
Right.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley from Shea.
You can expect the expected this morning.
Well,
Regular traffic out
I've been
there.
talking with
Crashes going on now.
I had Franklin Foyle on and I had Scott McKnight on, talking about the $1 billion that just popped up and what to do with it, and would a special session need to be called to put that towards?
I don't think so. You know, as great as $1 billion sounds, like we do with everything else, we've put so many things in place. We really can only manipulate or direct about, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 million of it.
Scott had the number a little bit higher, but
It may be
it's a lot of rainy day fund goes into that.
There's a list of 6 things. I have them somewhere with me, but we've created all these things that if the surplus is here, then a percentage goes here, and as it reaches higher and higher, it disperses out to these different things, which is at the time you're doing it, I think it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And then when you get the surplus and you look at things that really could be done at that moment in time,
The part I don't like is when it starts getting divvied up so much that it becomes worthless.
Right.
Like, I'd like to see us do one thing well.
exactly.
Like if you get $350 million, that'll do some good to fortify the levee system.
No doubt.
That'll do some good to build I-49.
Exactly.
You know, but we'll get 20 million of this and 15 million of that, and eventually it's like, what can Sean Wilson do with $20 million? Not a whole lot. What can Chip Klein do with 15 million? You know?
He can't even plan a project.
Right. Right. That's
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
you said BRPT. 806 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake Barty producing. Hey, thanks again to Jason DeCuir and Congressman Garret Graves for hopping on board last hour. This hour, State Senator Rick Ward and Deborah Voorhees. Deborah Voorhees, the director of a new movie called 13 Fanboy. We're getting you primed for Halloween. 13 Fanboy is, okay, it's a little campy, slasher film. Basically take all the alumni of the Friday the 13th films and put them in, well, they're playing themselves being in their own horror film. As like a fan of all the Friday the 13th franchise, just starts knocking them off one at a time. Great film. Well, great. For what it is, for a slasher film. Anyway, we'll talk with the director at 8:40. Last hour we had The Outside In. The Outside In, of course, presented every day by Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Check them out online, brptlake.com, brptlake.com. If you've been dealing with a nagging injury or persistent pain, don't hold off any longer. Visit the folks at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. They've been around for 60 years. They've got this down, okay? They will sit you down. They will listen to your story. They will make sure that they're able to get to the root of your physical limitations or mobility issues to get you on a long-term or a path to long-term healing. Want to give them a call for a free screening, 917-9185. 917-9185. They've got 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. They've been around for 60 years. Get yourself back to being your best you. Think physical therapy. Think brptlake.com. All right, every day at this time, Jake takes us back in time, a little segment we call This Day in History.
We're going to kick things off in 1803. First up, U.S. Senate ratifies the Louisiana Purchase.
Hey, big day right there.
Time to be patriotic if you're a Louisianan, which is probably everybody listening. Moving on, 1847. 12-year-old English boy William Nelman poisons his grandpa with arsenic, would become a famous court case.
Okay.
1947, about 100
Was
years
he convicted?
later. I don't know.
All right.
It was a child, but then again, let's just move on. Let's just go past that. 1947, the radio rights for the World Series sell for $475,000 for 3 years.
All right.
Just find that fascinating considering the money then to what it is now. It's a lot more zeros. You got something?
No.
Okay. You just had a look on your face.
I mean, I've got plenty, just not yet.
Well, then, I'm eager to hear it once I'm done here. But let's go to 1963. Jim Brown sets the NFL single-season rushing record, 1,863 yards.
That's been broken.
It has been broken, but it was a record at the time, and it was historic. Taking it as recent as last year, in 2020, the U.S. Justice Department sues Google for illegal monopoly over search and search advertising.
Whatever. They're just good at it.
That's all the events I got. You got something for me?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
And on this day in 1976, the Philadelphia 76ers acquired Julius Erving from the New York Nets.
Dr. J.
Yeah. Everything else I got is birthdays and deaths.
Well, then let's get right to the birthdays. First up, D-O-double-G, Snoop Dogg turns 50.
Happy birthday, Calvin. That's his name. Calvin Broadus. You look at me like I got
He only has
a
one
finger
name.
sticking out of my
Well, he has
forehead.
2 names. The other one's Snoop Lion for a time. John Krasinski turns 42 on this day. Happy birthday to him. Kamala Harris, is that how you pronounce her name?
Oh, she's the vice president, Kamala Harris, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. She turns 57. Happy birthday to her. William Zabka turns 56. He's from Karate Kid and their new show that's out right now.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Johnny. Just Johnny. It's Johnny.
Sweep the leg.
Yes.
Tom Petty was born on this day in 1950. And last one for me is a big one for Star Wars fans. Sam Whittwer turns 44.
Who's he?
He is the voice of Darth Maul, and he played as Starkiller in the Force Unleashed video games back in the mid-2000s.
Also Hall of Fame Giants pitcher Juan Marichal and former Mets first baseman Keith Hernandez. Newman's foe. I loathe Keith Hernandez. He was the second spitter. It's a Seinfeld reference. Also, keeping it local, happy birthday to Jeremy Hill, our own Jeremy Hill from
Happy
Hunt Hill.
birthday.
weekdays noon to 2 on 104.5, 104.9 ESPN.
Happy birthday to all those mentioned. Let's get to the deaths. I only have one. Herbert Hoover died on this day in 1964.
Also, a couple members of Leonard Skinner.
Yes.
There was that as well.
Yeah.
So
very unfortunate. Do you have any more? Or
no, that was it.
Let's get right to the holidays. First up, we have Information Overload Day.
Yep.
International Chef's Day. And finally, International Sloth Day.
Okay.
A bunch of whatevers.
Deal with that. Yeah, no. Information Overload Day is probably the strongest one there.
I would agree. But that's going to conclude this day in history.
All right. 812, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're going to take a quick break in just a second. I do need to remind you, the staycation is still up there. Visit Talk1073.com right now. Talk 1073 is giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark Hotels. Simply take our staycation survey at Talk1073.com. You will be instantly registered for one of two staycations each month at the Watermark or Renaissance. We draw two winners a month, one on this show, one on the J.D. Cody show. In September, Angela Girona won to stay at the Watermark, and Victoria Bankston won to stay at the Renaissance. It is a staycation with the Watermark and Renaissance Hotels and Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk.
Always interesting to me to watch all the what goes on and what you hear.
Yeah.
Driving around.
Yeah, it's like a duck on the water. It's a lot of paddling going on underneath. Hey, kill the mic for 1 second. .816 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So Monday at the press club, the guest was State Senator Rick Ward. He talked about a number of things, from firming up the electrical grid to dealing with a cell provider when cell service is down after an emergency, to Louisiana's reliance on federal money when it comes to road construction. Well, I wanted to follow up on all three of these things and maybe dive into a few more. He joins us now, State Senator Rick Ward. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing very well. Glad to have you on here again. Glad to be talking about a number of these things. Can we start with the cell service thing? Because I think that's kind of all over the map, and I don't know that there's a way to make a blueprint for this. What we went through with AT&T after the last storm presented a number of problems, dangerous problems.
Absolutely.
How do you solve them?
Well, that's a good question. When you have a disaster of that magnitude, I don't know if there's any foolproof way to solve that problem. I think the most important thing is that going forward, everybody, AT&T, the state, anybody involved in that, look at what you can do better to make sure that doesn't happen again. I mean, I've had some conversation with AT&T, and in particular for the emergency service they provide, they have up to 3 lines, which is like the gold standard. And when I say lines, that carries the information back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those were broken apart. It could be anything from trees that get uprooted and tear the lines in half to towers being blown down. All sorts of things. But they had the gold standard in place,
right,
and it failed. So where do you go from there, I think, is the bigger question.
How much of this can be solved by folding it into the broadband conversation that we've been having and trying to grow?
I think all of it works hand in hand. Society is so reliant on broadband, cell service, all those things, that you've got to focus on all of it together, because we've almost gotten to the point where our businesses can't function. Certainly our emergency personnel struggle to function.
And that's the most dangerous part about all this. Like, I made a choice to cut the cord a long time ago. I am reliant upon AT&T in my personal life.
That's right.
But when it comes to 911, being able to even answer the phone, that's a different story.
Absolutely. And so I think you really have to start there. How do you make sure that you do everything you possibly can whenever the most drastic of hurricanes or any other disaster come through, you have those emergency services stay in place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I keep saying because I don't want to. I know AT&T has gotten hit pretty hard over this, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have. But at the same time, they had the gold standard in place, and it got disrupted.
Right. So they have the gold standard in place. It got disrupted. This could just as easily have happened to anybody else. Like, this could have been a Verizon tower, a Verizon system. It was just luck of the draw that it hit right. AT&T instead of ...
That's right. And so how do you? What becomes the next gold standard, and how do you do that in a way that makes sense from a cost standpoint for something that may or may never happen again?
Yeah. So are there avenues for, say, like, when it comes to the different companies together, some kind of emergency toggling back and forth or sharing of networks?
So that is an interesting thing too. I believe that at least I know most of the networks are willing to open up all their networks to each other in the days leading up to the storm and then the days after. I don't know that all of them did that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see going forward, in particular from the federal standards, because a lot of things are controlled by that more than what we do here at the state. Whether or not they decide to mandate, and I know we hate that word right now, but whenever you're talking about an emergency situation, just to put something in place where they're all required for a certain time frame just before and for a certain period of time after, that they can all utilize each other's network and make that some sort of requirement.
The good news is the discussion's being had.
Absolutely.
So hashing out ideas is what's to come next. Moving from the phone service to the electrical service, our state is in dire need of help when it comes to the electrical grid. I am one of the ones who is front and center every time somebody talks about burying power lines, but you kind of had I don't want to say don't go to the grocery store while you're hungry approach to this. When all the power's down and you can physically see trees online, it's very easy to say, spend whatever you need, just bury it at all. But when you back up to a 10,000-foot view, it kind of changes the view of the ROI on the whole situation.
Yeah, well, and I think in particular, whenever you're talking about utilities, the way that whole system is set up, we are ultimately, the ratepayer is ultimately going to bear that cost.
Yep.
And so if they get pushed really hard to, say, bury everything, which is exponentially more expensive, you're going to get a surcharge on your bill, whether it's for them rebuilding after a hurricane, or for them burying things which cost, I don't know, it could be 50 times more or 30 times, whatever it is, you're going to get a surcharge for that to happen. And so what makes the most sense, and then also from the standpoint of after a storm and having to go through and fix things, it's easy to drive down the road and say, well, that line's down, that line's down. When everything's buried, I would think it would be a lot more time consuming to find the problem spots. Now there may be fewer of them, but you have to find them, and it might be a lot more difficult. So you really have to step back and say, okay, well, let's take some time and figure out what is the best path forward.
So we always seem to approach this from an eating an elephant in one bite scenario. We always seem to approach this from the idea of burying all the power lines at once.
Sure.
But I don't know why it would be so difficult to, like, let's say during Hurricane Ida, a tree went down on power lines on Old Hammond in front of Terra subdivision, and like some jackleg and a Hummer ran over that and further disrupted it, and the front of Terra was out of power more than most of Baton Rouge, right? Putting that back up, you have to physically reconstruct that. What's the difference between physically reconstructing it and digging a trench to where you never have to deal with that section ever again?
Right. And I think that's a good point. I mean, I think of all things that we talk about, this is something that could be just done over time, piece after piece.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I think when you're in an emergency situation, I say an emergency, but people are ready for their power to come back on.
Yeah.
And so I think it's all hands on deck just to get people's power back. And I don't know if they would do it that way, but I do think that they could start identifying problem areas. Like this area goes out 10 times a year.
Right.
So let's start there, and do it over time. I think that would make sense. And now how they rate that out, does it get rated out to the whole region or just to that subdivision? That's for somebody smarter than me to figure out. But it could be done over a longer period of time and not all at once.
Right, and it's not going to solve every problem under the sun. You can have buried power lines and still lose power because those lines got to come back out of the ground somewhere, and substations can get hit as well. But I think you could probably reduce the number of outages, and definitely just maintain, or not necessarily reduce the number of outages as much as reduce the number of opportunities for outages.
Exactly.
So.
And you see that, in a lot of the newer subdivisions.
My part of Sherwood is not new, but yet is still buried.
Exactly. And when I say new, probably the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so. Yeah. Whenever the developer is developing the subdivision, they bury them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they do it at their cost. But at the same time, those neighborhoods, pretty much unless the feed going into it gets disrupted, they're good.
Yeah. Yeah, and another part of this that's going to get interesting or complex would be the number of different electrical providers, whether it be Entergy or Cleco or West St. Tammany or Demco, whatever. I mean, when you look across the state, you have a number of them all piled together. You'd have to hold different companies to the same standard and all on different timelines. It just, I don't know. It's a lot to delve into. I guess that's more the PSC's job.
Exactly, and that's what I was about to say. It's we can have some hearings with them and discuss things with them, but really for the most part, their regulation and their urging to do things for the most part comes from the PSC. A lot of what we deal with at the legislature, dealing with utility companies, is how they have their right-of-ways and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the hard part for me as a consumer, though, is when things break, we have to pay to get them fixed. It would be like me hopping in a cab saying, take me to the airport. halfway to the airport, the radiator breaks, and the cab driver wants to charge me for a new radiator.
That's right.
That I know that's not an apples to apples comparison, but that's the perception.
No, well, and it's the perception, because when you pick up your bill after the repairs come through after a hurricane, at some point they will have to go through the process to get that surcharge that they're going to put on everyone's bill approved, but it's going to be coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can look down at your bill and say, okay, now for the next umpteen years, I'm paying an extra $12.50 a month.
Right.
For all those repairs.
Right, to fix something that I didn't break and I've already paid for on the front end anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk roads for a little bit because, well, we only got 4 minutes left. But let's talk roads. We have a $14 billion backlog with road construction. We recently got an announcement that the Revenue Estimating Conference was conservative by about $1 billion. Some of that's going to go rainy day fund. Some of that's going to go to roads. We, however, have a very heavy reliance upon federal dollars when it comes to our DOTD budget. What can we do to fix that?
Well, I think we have to do what at least I feel like we've attempted to start doing the last few sessions, which is making it more of a priority. Out of the 50 states, I think there's only one state that has gone longer than us without investing more dollars into their roads and bridge program, DOT, whatever their department is called. And so those dollars begin to lose value over time just with inflation alone.
Sure.
And so if your average state about, let's call it 47 or 48% of the budget they spend or the dollars they spend on their roads comes from the federal government, somewhere close to 80% of what we spend comes from the federal government. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, except for from a time standpoint, where on the smaller projects in particular, they just take so long.
Sure.
And so people get frustrated, and it's not necessarily DOTD's fault that they take so long. They're having to meet these federal regulations that might take 18 to 22 months in order to go spend the dollars that are connected to federal funds.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we had a larger percentage of state dollars, I'm of the opinion we could keep that separate, some of it separate from the federal dollars, and on some of those smaller things move a lot faster. And I think it would be a big boost for the morale of our citizens who would actually see something happening.
We just saw $205 million be put into a budget stabilization fund.
Mm-hmm.
How doable would it be to have a transportation stabilization fund?
I think it would be doable. I think that the problem that we have, like we tend to do in the legislature, is so out of that $1 billion surplus that we just discussed,
mm-hmm.
there are 6 constitutional categories that money is going to be divvied up into before we essentially will get what's left over from those 6 categories
right.
that we can spend. So I guess in theory we could go put in another, try and pass another constitutional amendment to have a similar fund set up like that. But I don't know if that's the route to go, because for myself, I don't particularly like having the 6 categories we have, because it may feel good 15 years ago when you're passing one of those things, but now when you're in the legislature and you're in the middle of everything, you see what's going on in that moment of time, your hands are tied. We've got $1 billion and we can't really use it to
right.
a large extent.
Right, and we've run into this from a budgeting standpoint when it comes to healthcare and higher ed. We see they're on the chopping block every single time. Why? Because that's just the way it is. So
that's it.
I don't know. Got to open things up a little bit. In the meanwhile, we are just straight up out of time. This is not done, though. We're going to have to get you back on very soon.
I'd love to come back.
He is State Senator Rick Ward. We greatly appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. Taking a quick break. Going to check news. Going to check traffic. Going to check weather. When we come back, it's getting close to Halloween. Got a number of interviews set up. The first one is today. Deborah Voorhees, director of 13 Fanboy. We're talking Friday the 13th franchise. Coming up next on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. Oh, she was in which part of Friday the 13th? Like either 2 or 3.
Really?
Yeah, and now she's directing this one. I watched it yesterday. It is so, like, if you've seen the Friday the 13th movies, it is exactly like the Friday the 13th
That's
movies.
funny.
So,
That's funny.
but yeah, the transportation thing gets me every single time because we tread water, and then realize we haven't gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd like to swim. You know, I'd like to. Okay, you want to fix. I don't care if it goes the other end of the state. Let's get it off the books.
Yeah.
You want to fix I-49 in Shreveport? You go first. Fine. I'm not going to be territorial about it. Let's get you done and off the books.
And you know what frustrates, obviously, our constituents, but legislators too. So we've passed two things in the last 3 years. We passed the bill dealing with the BP funds.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't turned dirt on anything yet.
From all the Deepwater Horizon?
Yeah.
That happened over a decade ago.
Right. Well, we passed the bill for the 415 connector and the LA1 down in Golden Meadow and all those different things back in 19. Yeah, I think it was 19 because it was like 6 months before the election. None of those things have broken ground yet. Now the Golden Meadow, the LA1 going down to Port Fourchon, elevating of that was because we were waiting on the infra grant that is now available. It helped us get the largest one in the country. So there was a reason for that. But back to the relying on federal things, and this one has less to do with federal dollars and more to do with we have to cross a federally controlled body of water.
Yeah.
The 415 connector, that was at the time shovel ready. Well, they get to where they're, it's funded, we can move forward. There was a segment of it where the federal study had expired.
And that's freaking frustrating as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to run into that 100 times with the new bridge.
Exactly. So, thankfully on the new bridge, the Road and Bridge Commission, we can talk about that one day, but they're hopefully about halfway through what they have to do for the federal government. And whenever that's done, should be about the same time as the bill we passed last year. That money kicks in, so the money should be available to start around the same time that they're done.
Yeah.
As opposed to having a study that's done and saying, well, we don't have a funding source, so it's now going to sit on a shelf and expire.
I don't know how y'all keep doing it, man. I would get so frustrated with it. You just run into literal and figurative roadblocks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're West Baton Rouge. Like you need new roads too. You need new pavement, new concrete.
Absolutely. No, it's not to mention
not just the maintenance of what's already out there. Just
maintenance. And look, what else falls under infrastructure that we never really talk about? There's probably another $10 billion or maybe $12 billion of drainage statewide. There's parishes that have $1.5 billion worth, maybe $2 billion worth of drainage issues that need to be addressed. We don't even discuss that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. With whether it be outdated pumps in New Orleans or feuds with surrounding parishes in Baton Rouge, whatever the case might be.
Exactly.
So.
Right. We'll always enjoy it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, let's talk bridge next time. That's
okay.
Definite.
Sounds great.
Big one.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Have a good one.
This report is brought to you by Shopells, where you can get free tire repairs on all household items. Purchase new tires.
I feel like I can't concentrate on anything because of this back. Hey, Charles.
I left this in here yesterday.
Hey, what is that?
This is a windshield that I'm going to use in my office at home to try to knock out the echo that I'm getting on my podcast. I'm doing it from my office at home, and for whatever reason, the acoustics in my office, which is nothing more than the smallest bedroom in my house, are producing an echo that is annoying me. And so I'm hoping that putting the microphone here and speaking into it will be the quick fix.
It should be. What's one of those run?
They're not terribly expensive. It comes with a stand.
Okay.
So I think the whole contraption is like $50.
Oh, snap. Okay. Well, because I'm building my office out right now, and I know Podcast Studio is part of it, and it's got We got like linoleum floors, and there's nothing on the walls, and I'm gonna put some acoustic tiles on the walls. I could not find anything online. I'm like, damn, I don't want to get in that market. So, well, I mean, everybody's podcasting now, so.
The podcast that I did from Kentucky in a much larger hotel room than what my office is at home sounded fun.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try this today. Let you know how it works. If you want one of these, talk to Jay. He's got there's multiple ones here.
Yeah.
And they're not terribly expensive.
Okay.
The microphone's $80. I think these with the stand are like $50. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've got mics and mic stands at home already. I just keep the sound.
This long, but I want this to just sit on my desk.
Right.
I'll let you know if it works.
Appreciate it. Yes. Yeah, this is one of those ones through Premiere. So you'll get the handler or whatever first. So distracted. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Looking forward to talking with Deborah Voorhees in just a minute. Before that, though, got to remind you about Boo at the Zoo. We got one more week to go, and we're going to give away some tickets. In fact, here's how we're giving them away. Everyone who is subscribed to my YouTube channel is eligible to win tickets. I'm going to be drawing for at least 5 family 4-packs of tickets. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's all you got to do. If you're already subscribed, you're good to go. But if you're not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, Mornings with Brian Haldane, go ahead and subscribe right now, and we'll be drawing for tickets later on. By the way, Boo at the Zoo this weekend, Saturday, October 23rd and 24th. Children ages 12 and under will receive prepackaged treat bags upon their exit of the zoo adventure. Dress the whole family up and head on out to Boo at the Zoo. All right, new movie out. It's called 13 Fanboy. If you are a fan of the Friday the 13th series, you want in on this. It pays homage to the entire series and picks up right where, it picks up in reality where the rest of it left off. Deborah Voorhees is the director of the film and joins us now. Deborah, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrific. Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you on here this morning. Glad to be talking about this, especially at this time of year. Okay, what brought 13 Fanboy to life, and if you could, give it an encapsulation of what it is for the audience.
It is about a fanboy who has a deadly obsession for the various actresses from the Friday the 13th series, and also Dee Wallace, who's my leading lady from Halloween. So he's very obsessed with the slashers. The idea came because my producing partner and I got together, and we were talking about doing a different film. He was curious about what it was like at horror conventions and wanted to know if horror fans were scary sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And I said, really haven't experienced anything like that. I said, they're really fun, and they like Halloween, and they love special effects and that sort of thing, but they're just kind of like grown-up kids, and that's terrific. And he said, well, has anything ever scary happened? And I told him about 2 situations that really was the seed for all of this. And one of them was I received a message on Messenger that said, wouldn't it be cool if you died in real life like you did in Friday the 13th? Well, I was died in Friday the 13th with garden shears going through my eyes, and at the age of 60, that is not exactly my idea of how I'd like to go. So that was a little unnerving for me. But the second one was even more so because the messages came to my personal phone. One message, the first one said, "I'm watching you." Well, at the given time that I received this message, it was actually possible because I was sitting in my office. I live kind of out in the middle of nowhere in a wooded area, and it was very late at night. I had a single light on, and I was writing at my computer. My French doors were right there, and so somebody could have been looking through very easily. Then I got a series of other messages that basically made it clear he was pretending to be Jason and that he was there to kill me. And all I had to do was block the person, but and then as far as I know, that person's never tried to contact me again. But my producing partner immediately said, "That's our movie." I was like, no, no, that's real life. That's really scary. That's the real stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, that's the real stuff." And so, yeah, that's how the idea came about. It took me, honestly, several days of thinking it through because the whole concept initially really unnerved me. But now I'm thrilled that we decided to go ahead and move forward with it.
Okay, so having watched the movie, that's exactly how the movie plays out, and I had no idea that like really happened in real life. That's it's creepy to think about it. Deborah Voorhees, director of 13th Fanboy, is our guest. Deborah, you brought together a cast of characters who are Friday the 13th alumni. Was this like a homecoming?
It really was. Even for people that we hadn't met before, it was like that. There is definitely a camaraderie among in general, of people with the slasher films, and then, of course, within the Friday the 13th franchise and Halloween as well, because we're very much related franchises.
Yes, and there is a level of the slasher films, there's a level of horror, there's a level of campy that goes along with it, and walking that line, it had to play out strong with this cast because they're veterans of it.
Right, absolutely. We, Corey Feldman is the only one who doesn't play himself in the film. Everybody else is playing themselves. He is playing kind of a creepy producer, and he definitely adds some levity and some comedic moments. At times, though, it is definitely a very intense thriller. It's also a horror film with slasher elements and a whodunit.
Yes, absolutely. And if we could jump from the Friday the 13th and Halloween franchises, because of the way the cast of characters comes together, there's a Scream feel about this as well.
Right.
And yes, Corey Feldman, yes, definitely the comedic relief within the film. I've got to ask, though, when you talk about slasher franchises, 13th Fanboy feels like this could be the start of something where it would pick up with copycats, other fanboys coming in later. Is that the plan?
If the fans really respond to it and love it, we will absolutely be doing another one.
Once you step outside of Friday the 13th, I got to ask you, because we're coming up on Halloween real soon. Is this your favorite time of year? Does this bring out the slasher film within you?
There is something really magical about Halloween, and the whole playing in blood is just fun because there's nothing realistic about it. We're a bunch of goofballs on set, and we have the best time. Now, there were some really intense moments, where it would have given you chills. Mm-hmm. The scene with Kane, everybody on set. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. When Dee and Ron Sloan, they were husband and wife in the film, get into the argument, people had chills, and somebody said in the middle of it and cracked us all up, he said, "I feel like I need to go to my room because Mom and Dad are fighting."
This opens up tomorrow in select theaters and wide release on different streaming platforms as well. Deborah Voorhees, former Friday the 13th actor and now directing 13th Fanboy. I got to tell you, this was a lot of fun to watch. When you look at it from that level right there. Was the aim to recreate the same feel of Friday the 13th, or to be its own thing?
It's definitely to be its own thing. You'll find that this one is much more realistic and much more intense, but it also does pay homage to the film and some of the Friday the 13th and other slasher films, the slasher type elements to it. So,
yeah, I think the fact that everybody is real, everybody's a real person. You don't have there's not the supernatural aspect that you get when you have the later versions of the Friday the 13th franchise. In the meanwhile,
exactly.
it was super enjoyable, and super enjoyable talking to you this morning as well. Deborah Voorhees, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. 13 fanboy. It was a lot of fun. It was a super fun film. It is exactly what you'd expect from a Friday the 13th alum, a cast of Friday the 13th alumni. Look, in the film was Kane Hodder, who played Jason in 4 Friday the 13th films, C.J. Graham, who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6. Also from the franchise was Judy Aronson from Part 4, Tracy Savage from Part 3, Ron Sloan from Part 5, Lar Park Lincoln from Part 7, and Jennifer Banco, who played her younger self in Part 7. And, of course, Deborah Voorhees was in Part 5. I mean, it is Halloween coming up real soon. You got to, suspend disbelief for a little bit and just enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. Hey, and this isn't the last one we're doing when it comes to interviews about the Halloween programming that's out there. I know last year we had the Food Network's Halloween Bake Off, which is back again this year. But there's also one coming up, and I'm not doing the interview till next week. Celebrity Exorcism. Get ready for this. Get the chance to talk to Jodie Sweetin. You may know from Full House or Fuller House. Or if you're like me, Hollywood Darlings, which was a hilarious show. Anyway, that's coming up next week. Right now, though, we're about a minute away from our Your Money Now. Going to check traffic one more time as well. Hey, got to remind you that coming up Friday, I'll be over at Go Slim Nutrition, GEAUX, SlimBR.com. Go Slim Nutrition. I weigh in every single Friday. This Friday will be no different. If you've not yet, if you put on a couple of pandemic pounds and have not yet started to take them off, if you're thinking that the holidays are on their way, because they are, maybe check out Go Slim Nutrition. Maybe now is the time to adopt some healthier lifestyle habits. Maybe when you're looking at Halloween on the calendar and know that some candy's coming around in 2 weeks, maybe now's the time to start adopting some healthier habits as well. Get yourself on a path to being a healthier you. The folks at Go Slim Nutrition, they do it the right way. They're not turning your life upside down for a diet. They're instilling better lifestyle choices throughout. Yes, there is a protein diet, protein-heavy diet that this is based off of, but it's all about the accountability. It's all about sitting down every single week and going over how your week went and how next week is going to map out. If you want to find out more, give them a call at 763-9627 or just swing by. I'll be there Friday at 10 for my weigh-in. We'll see you there at Go Slim Nutrition. They are on Bluebonnet at Perkins, right next door to Rouse's. GEAUX SlimBR.com is the website. Start adopting some healthier lifestyle choices before the holidays take their toll at Go Slim Nutrition. Let's check out Your Money Now. Coming back to close it out next on Talk 107.3. That was fun. Really don't like having to cut it off with that much time to go. But it is what it is. It's better than not having the content. Because we're going to have a special Halloween show on Halloween Day. I know. It'll be pre-recorded. So. Say again? Okay. Oh, no, I said octopus. What a better than 7 recipe for octopus? 8. recipe.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not in perfect health? Don't worry.
SelectQuote found Tanya 40, who has type 2 diabetes, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $32 a month.
We shop companies like Protective, Prudential, American General, and others to find you the comfortable health and strength. Give your family the stability they need at a price you can afford. For your free quote, call 1-800-714-6633. That's 1-800-714-6633. Or visit SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-714-6633. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Full details of the example policies at
I
SelectQuote.com/commercials.
guess I should pick up. So get out and go back to my desk and actually sit down for a little bit before the promotions meeting. Don't need that anymore.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a financial talk show covering the latest in financial news topics and how to expand your wealth. Listen to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, weeknights at 7 on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk.
Do you have an idea for an app but have no idea who to call to help you get started? Contact Innovatus to learn how developing a custom app has never been easier or more affordable. Visit novateus.com. That's novateus.com.
I'm American Idol winner Lane Hardy with an important message for young people in my home state of Louisiana. Our electronic devices are an important part of our education and a way for us to stay informed and entertained. Using this technology also means being responsible with it. The Louisiana Cybersecurity Commission offers this advice. Limit the amount of information you share online and share it with trusted websites. When y'all get online, treat everyone with respect and help in preventing cyberbullying. Use different passwords for different accounts. Use a password combination that has varying characters. Don't browse the internet or root your email while logged onto your computer at any time. Try to keep all your software up to date. If you're a victim of cyber attack or cybercrime, call the Louisiana Fusion Center at 1-800-334-8007. For more online safety information, go to getagameplan.org. Louisiana Body Bistro is cooking with love. Delicious
Are we supposed to have traffic here?
Yeah.
combo to-go meals, limited dining, or curbside pickup. Call 225-749-6354. Louisiana Body Bistro, when I was home, what's on there?
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Boucher.
Travel coming in from Denham Springs jammed in two pockets around Range and also around O'Neill. But the drive this morning has been cooperating for us for the most part, and things are improving as the morning goes on. I would say this 40-minute drive time
856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Thanks again to attorney Franz Borghardt for hopping on board for a very lively Legally Served. If you missed it, it's available on demand at talk1073.com. Also, thanks to Jason DeCuir for talking Constitutional Amendment number 1. Thanks to Congressman Garret Graves for hopping on board. Thanks to State Senator Rick Ward and Deborah Voorhees, director of the movie 13 Fanboy, which comes out tomorrow. All right, got a couple minutes left before we get out of here, and I've been debating whether or not I was going to even do this story, because yesterday I saw on WBRZ a missing person from the North Donmore Avenue area. The press release from the Baton Rouge Police Department, which made the news yesterday, was the Baton Rouge Police Department is searching for the individual in the attached photograph identified as Taiwan Richardson, 44 years old. No, I can't share the photograph over radio. It's radio. Richardson was last seen during the evening hours on October 10th, 2021, around the North Donmore Avenue area. The possibility of foul play cannot be ruled out. Anyone who has seen Taiwan Richardson or has information on his whereabouts is urged to contact the Baton Rouge Police Department at 389-2000. That came out yesterday morning. Anybody seen Taiwan Richardson? He was last seen on October 10th. 9 days. Later that same day, update on the search for the missing person. Taiwan Richardson, 44 years of age, has been found and is safe with his family. Thank you for your assistance. And that's it. That's the whole release. And I'm left like, bro, you've been gone for 9 days. Nothing? No, like I fell asleep on the sofa? No, like, hey, I had to go run some errands. What? How do you go missing for 9 days and just pop back up with, he's been found, he's safe, and that's all? You better lock it up, Taiwan. Better lock it up, man. Where you been for 9 days? Dude, if you disappeared for 9 days and then showed back up, I mean, you're gonna have some explaining to do. News reports went out. 9 days, man. Where you been? Around. I don't know how you pull that. Props to you. Anyway, glad he's safe. Hey, Fox News Rundown's coming up next, followed by Brian Kilmeade, followed by Dave Ramsey, followed by Jay Ducote. Don't forget tomorrow night, Jay Ducote doing his show from the CCA Star Awards banquet. We will see you tomorrow morning on Talk 107.3.
Protect your retirement. Visit safemoneyplan.net. It's 9 o'clock.
All right, YouTuberies, I will see y'all